Chapter 284. The first floor was pills and cultivation techniques. The second floor was equipment, materials, and wealth. The third floor was the Scarlet Blood Temple's core area. The Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate was sleeping inside, so it was best if they didn't touch the third floor. Once the Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate was awakened, the three of them wouldn't have the chance to plunder anything. We'll go back to the first floor. Looking at the blue pill bottles and the small mountain of secret techniques and cultivation techniques, the three of them revealed looks of excitement. They were going to make a large profit this time. Nangongyun found a large bag and swept several bottles of pills into it. Idiot, these are all recovery and support type pills. It was hard for us to come in, so if we bring these kinds of pills out, wouldn't it be a huge loss? Chu Tian impolitely reprimanded Nangongyun. I told you to read more books, but you can't even be a thief at a critical moment. Nangongyun said in a depressed voice, Can boss scold me when we go back? Every second is worth its weight in gold. Chu Tian pointed at the pill shelves and said, Here, here, and here, they are all spirit-grade pills, with a small portion being sacred-grade pills. Without an exception, they are all used to increase one's cultivation base. Move faster and store as many as you can, but if you can't store them all, then just eat them. Eating one more is a profit. Then I won't be polite. Nangongyun gave 3 excited laughs. This old lady has never felt this good in her life. I want to properly enjoy myself today. The little fox did not need Chu Tian to say anything before it moved. This fellow jumped onto the shelves and swallowed the jade bottles into its stomach, sweeping over several hundred bottles of pills. How could they continue with this speed? How could Chu Tian lose to this damn fox? Chu Tian picked up the limitless gourd and began to fill it up. The limitless gourd began to fill up the gourd, and in just a few seconds, it had filled several rows of precious pills. Nangongyun and Chen Bingyu were filled with envy, but it was a pity that things with spatial storage abilities were priceless treasures in southern Xia. It was said that the 3 rulers and the king only had 1 or 2, so they didn't even dare think about it. What should they do when the large bags they prepared were already filled? Eat. Chu Tian pointed at some pills and said, These are semisage pills refined from 10,000-year-old chalcedony. The main function of 10,000-year-old chalcedony is to improve one's foundation and strengthen one's physique. The energy it contains is not huge and is relatively mild. You can eat it without worry. Chu Tian picked up a bottle of medicinal pills and poured out 5 or 6 of them. They were like white jade pills, and each pill emitted an alluring aura. He didn't even look at it before stuffing it into his mouth. 5 or 6 white jade marrow pills melted as soon as they entered his mouth. A few clear streams of energy flowed into his abdomen and immediately flowed to every part of his body. It was as if the energy could seep into his bones, making him feel as if he was walking on air. Nangongyun and Chen Bingyu hurriedly opened a few bottles and poured them all into their mouths. Chu Tian pointed out another type of pill. These are level 3 spirit pills, Nangongyun and I can't take them, but Sister Bing, you can take them, they are very helpful for breaking through to the next realm. A level 3 spirit pill. It was refined from level 3 elixirs. The alchemist himself must also possess the corresponding strength. This kind of pill was very rare in southern Xia. Only the heavenly demon warring kingdom could store large amounts of this kind of pill. Chen Bingyu opened a few bottles and poured out dark golden pills. Each pill was covered in intricate pill patterns and contained a powerful energy that pulsed like a heart. Such a strong energy fluctuation. The spirit pills were refined from spiritual grade materials. The quality of the energy in a level 3 spirit pill could not compare to a level 2 sacred pill, but in terms of quantity, it surpassed a level 2 sacred pill. Chen Bingyu took this many level 3 spirit pills at once and she suddenly felt like her body was on fire. Under the fierce impact of the spirit qi, the layer of incomparably firm bottleneck had already begun to show traces of cracks. The higher one's cultivation base was, the harder it was to increase it. Now that there were signs of a breakthrough, how could she not be happy? Chen Bingyu was already in the 9th awakened soul layer. If she could take another step forward, she would become a strong existence comparable to the southern summer 8 marquises. Nangongyun took quite a few pills at once. There were many half-step sacred grade and even sacred grade pills. I really can't take it anymore, I'm about to explode. I can't eat anymore. Chu Tian had already eaten to his limit. Although the pills of this era were crude, with such a large amount in his stomach, it was still very impressive. Chu Tian felt that as long as he had a few more days, he would be able to reach the peak fifth awakened soul layer. As for the little fox, this fellow had taken a third of the pills. It was still wildly sweeping through them at a shocking speed. This fellow's appetite was very terrifying, it was like the space inside was endless. But this was also a good thing. The little fox had a large amount of pills in its body and it couldn't digest them all. Once they arrived in Imperial City, they would have to extort it and make it obediently spit out a portion. Let's go. We're going to the second floor now. The three of them almost had their stomachs split open. Now that they were on the second floor, they could only stare at the large amount of materials. Chu Tian didn't have much space in his gourd, so he could only take a bit. There are actually starlight stones here. Chu Tian found several large pieces of starlight stones. Naturally, he had to take the good materials to cultivate the starlight immortal body since it didn't take up too much space anyway. Yi, it's blood yin steel. Chu Tian opened a small treasure chest that contained several neatly arranged metal ingots. They were a strange bright red color, and their surfaces were filled with naturally formed patterns that emitted a faint baleful aura. Nangong Yun immediately asked, "What is this blood yin steel? Do you know about the little fox's needle?" "Of course I know. That needle can ignore protective spirit energy." Nangong Yun thought of something and revealed a look of wild joy. Hey, don't tell me, these are all." Chu Tian nodded. The little fox's blood yin steel is actually made from level 2 blood yin steel and these ingots are also level 2 blood yin steel. I never thought that there would be this many. Nangong Yun was stunned. Then wouldn't it be possible to refine over 1,000 needles that can ignore defenses? Chu Tian opened several similar treasure chests and found that they were all level 2 blood yin steel. He also revealed an excited look. It's even more than enough to make a weapon. This kind of weapon that could ignore spirit energy defenses. Just thinking about it was very shocking. Of course, the blood yin steel was not perfect, it could only ignore energy. The blood yin steel itself was only a normal level 2 material. If the opponent was wearing a high-quality armor, even if it could pierce through protective spirit energy, it would not necessarily be able to tear through the armor. Chu Tian had a new idea. With this kind of large amount of blood yin steel, if it was made into special bullets, the effect would be very good. First he needed to design a new type of gun that could fire bullets. Through spirit energy, the blood yin steel bullets could be shot out and the bullets could be engraved with armor-piercing effects. Then it would be a divine weapon that could kill awakened soul realm expert. Chu Tian poured out the blood yin steel and placed it all into the gourd space. Then he looked for other useful materials. It had to be said that the heavenly demon cult was very rich. The Scarlet Blood branch was just a branch and this Scarlet Blood temple was a temporary refuge, so the things that were transferred here should only be a small portion of what they had. Even so, it was enough to create a large treasure trove in southern Xia. There were several dozen chests of source stones here. Chu Tian estimated that there were at least several million source stones, but the quality was not very good. Most of them were low-grade source stones. It was a pity that source stones took up too much space. Although this was the common currency of the continent, taking up space in the gourd for a bit of money was not worth it for Chu Tian. "Are you guys done?" When Nangong Yun appeared in front of him, it really gave Chu Tian a fright. This fellow was wearing a gold-threaded vest, a blood-red armor on the outside, and a large red cloak on the outermost layer. His 10 snow-white fingers were full of rings, and his snow-white wrists were wrapped with 7 to 8 bracelets. He wore 4 to 5 necklaces around his neck, and a long spear, halberd, and sword were strapped to his back. He even wore 3 layers of boots. Chu Tian was speechless. "You're too exaggerated." "Nonsense." Nangong Yun's body trembled as she spoke. "Do you know how much this equipment is worth?" Chu Tian looked at Chen Bingyu on the side. He never thought that the indifferent her would act like a nouveau riche at this moment. This really was a woman's nature. Take the good ones, don't be greedy. Chu Tian awkwardly coughed a few times. "We don't lack this bit of money. If people saw this, they would think that I can't support you guys." Who wants you to support us? Hurry up and take it. Chen Bingyu and Nangong Yun were very exaggerated, but the equipment they took were all high-grade soul weapons. These things had a strong amplification effect on their strength. Chu Tian lit his mind's lamp and carefully scanned the equipment. His divine sense scanned all the materials and equipment. This cloak is not bad. Chu Tian walked to a corner and picked up a normal-looking cloak. This is a top-grade soul weapon. Chen Bingyu coldly said, I also took a few top-grade soul weapons, it's nothing special. Chen Bingyu had already opened her mind's eye, so she could use her divine sense to scan, so naturally she could find high-quality equipment. Who would have thought that Chu Tian would disdainfully say, even if they are both top-grade soul weapons, compared to them, yours is far inferior. Chen Bingyu raised her eyebrows as if she was not convinced. Chu Tian smiled at her and put on the cloak that covered their faces. His entire body suddenly disappeared. Chen Bingyu gave a snort. What kind of function is it? Isn't it just invisibility? Mind's eye. Chen Bingyu suddenly opened her mind's eye. This made Chen Bingyu surprised. Using her mind's eye, she could not find any trace of Chu Tian. At this time, a hand came from behind her and placed it on Chen Bingyu's shoulder. She saw Chu Tian's cheap smile gradually appear. How is it? Although this cloak does not increase your battle strength, it has the ability to block out divine sense. This is one of the few functions. This cloak could block the detection of divine senses. It was almost an excellent stealthy weapon. Of course, this cloak could block out Chen Bingyu's divine sense from the mind's eye, but for Chu Tian, who could already light his mind's lamp, even if someone wore a cloak, he would still be able to detect them. The mind's lamp realm's divine sense was much higher than the mind's eye. Chu Tian searched for a few more treasures. At this time, outside the Scarlet Blood Temple, there were several explosions. Those fellows were about to enter. We're entering the third floor. Chapter 285. When they stood at the entrance to the third floor of the Scarlet Blood Temple, they felt a strong pressure coming at them. Even before they entered, they could already smell the thick smell of blood. Behind this giant door was a sea of blood. As long as the door was pushed open, blood would wildly pour in. Chu Tian looked at the two girls. Prepare yourselves, I'm about to open. Chen Bingyu and Nangong Yun nodded. They were all prepared. Chu Tian suddenly used his strength to push open the giant metal door. Suddenly, a scarlet light shrouded them, and the three of them simultaneously felt their bodies tremble. The back of the door was filled with blood-red evil spirits. That densely packed scene almost filled the entire hall. Nangong Yun was shocked. This is bad, there's an ambush. Why were there so many monsters? When Nangong Yun was about to attack with her hammer, a divine sense suddenly entered Nangong Yun's mind. Nangong Yun felt the scene in front of her blur as countless blood-red evil spirits disappeared from her sight. What happened just now? It was just an illusion, a small trick. Chu Tian did not care about it at all. Not to mention his mind's lamp divine sense, it was enough to see through most illusions. Just the innate talent of his main source spirit was enough for Chu Tian to not fear any illusion attacks. Of course, the mind's lamp could affect the surrounding people. So Chu Tian could help Chen Bingyu and Nangong Yun break the illusion in time. The third floor of the Blood Temple was not as big as the first two floors, and it did not have mountains of treasures. There were only a few fierce and silent statues with a stone platform in the center. There was a 30-centimeter tall scarlet object placed on top of it. The object was covered in scarlet veined patterns, and strands of blood-like veined patterns wrapped around it. An extremely powerful energy aura emanated from the object, giving off a strong sense of oppression. If their guesses weren't wrong, the thick smell of blood in the air and the feeling they had when they first entered were all caused by this object. It's exactly the same as the illustration. Nangong Yun revealed a look of pleasant surprise. This is the scarlet blood sacred object, the blood chalice. The three of them were certain that the holy blood grail that Chu Tian was looking for was precisely this thing in front of them. This blood chalice was the most important sacred object of the scarlet blood branch, so it wasn't strange for it to have all kinds of mysterious abilities. Nangong Yun excitedly said, I bet that this is at least a soul-contracting artifact. Chu Tian rolled his eyes at him. Can you stop talking nonsense? Nangong Yun was indignant. Was this nonsense? Soul-linking artifacts were rare. Chu Tian's soul-contracting weapons, including the Netherworld sword and the soul-controlling bell, were all taken from the 10,000 corpse ancient tomb. The origin of this tomb of 10,000 corpses could not be verified. The only thing that could be confirmed was that the sect that established the tomb of 10,000 corpses was probably stronger than the Tianmo cult. That was why there were a large number of soul-connected artifacts in the 10,000 corpses ancient tomb. Even after tens of thousands of years of regular excavation, there were still some remnants. Fox-faced Corpse King. There was also the little fox. Weren't they all from the 10,000 corpses ancient tomb? That ancient sect had already disappeared for tens of thousands of years. The Tianmo cult was a sect that had been destroyed for several hundred years. The Tianmo cult did not have as many soul-contracting artifacts as the sects in the Yin Corpse Valley, but each branch would have at least one soul-contracting artifact as a sacred object. The might of this blood chalice was not inferior to the Netherworld sword by much, it might even be stronger. It was not that the blood chalice was of a higher quality than the Netherworld sword. The blood chalice had only been sealed for several hundred years, so its strength had not decreased that much. The Netherworld sword had been asleep for at least 10,000 years. The two were completely different concept. Nangongyun charged over. I'll bring it over. The blood chalice was the Scarlet Blood Branch's most important treasure. Now that everything had been plundered, once they took the blood chalice, everyone could escape. Wait. Chu Tian quickly stopped Nangongyun. Nangongyun knit her brows and asked, "What are you doing? The soul-contracting artifact is right in front of us. How could we not take it?" "Nangong, I have to criticize you again. If you don't use your brain for a long time, it will rust." Nangongyun was so angry that her teeth itched. When did this old lady not use her brain? Can't you see? The blood chalice has already recognized a master, so even if we take it away, as long as the blood chalice doesn't cancel its master, we won't be able to control its power. Most soul-contracting artifacts had simple thoughts, so they would choose a master that suited them. Back in the 10,000 corpse ancient tomb, the Yin Wind swordsman Wn Wui had tried to steal the Thunder Spirit Bead, but he had been injured by the Thunder Spirit Bead. Chu Tian had no way of using the Thunder Spirit Bead, mainly because the artifact spirit was resisting. This was an advantage and a disadvantage. The advantage was that once a soul-contracting artifact recognized a master, unless the master found a way to separate it, the soul-contracting artifact would not choose another master until the master died. The disadvantage was that if one obtained a soul-contracting artifact with a strong mind, if one's attribute or cultivation technique was not suitable, it would automatically be rejected by the soul-contracting artifact. Then what should we do? Don't be anxious. Chu Tian opened his mind's eye and carefully observed the chalice. There is a large array in the main hall and the chalice is the core of the array. If we take it away, the array will immediately activate. If the array is activated, it will form a power that will awaken the Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate. Ah! Nangongyun revealed an awkward expression. What should we do? In other words, it's impossible for us to take the blood chalice. This was indeed a troublesome matter. A precious treasure was right in front of them. If they couldn't take it away, it would be a huge regret for this mission. Hong Long Long. The Scarlet Blood Temple's outer barrier began to violently shake. Chen Bingyu reminded them, "Someone is coming in. There's no other way and no time." Nangongyun shouted at Chu Tian, "Our harvest is large enough, let's retreat now. If they come in and see the situation inside, they will definitely go crazy. Isn't it just a broken chalice? It's fine if we can't take it." The first 2 floors of the Scarlet Blood Temple had been mostly emptied by the 3 people and 1 fox, especially the precious pills and materials. Now all that was left were useless cultivation techniques, cheap pills, and normal materials. These people that came to search for treasures were not ordinary people. If they saw this situation, they would definitely go crazy. Take the stealth talismans and leave first. Chu Tian took out several talismans and gave them to the 2 of them. "Wait outside, I'll take care of this. Can you take care of it? Let's go." Nangongyun and Chen Bingyu had to choose to believe in Chu Tian. The 2 of them activated the stealth talismans and left the Scarlet Blood Temple. These stealth talismans could not hide from divine sense, but in a situation where the other side did not know, Using the stealth talismans was enough to safely leave. A violent explosion came from the first floor of the main hall. A wild strength was released and the pill bottles and jade slips fell to the ground. Chu Tian felt that there was not much time left. He took a deep breath and grabbed the blood chalice, raising it high up. A scarlet light suddenly illuminated the entire main hall. Large amounts of complex lines appeared on the floor and intertwined with each other, finally forming a large source energy array. The scarlet blood temple began to tremble. The source energy array turned red, as if it was connected to a world of blood. Large amounts of red lightning flashed around it and gradually, a blood-red stone coffin slowly rose up. An ancient and majestic pressure enveloped it and a power that made one's hair stand on end filled the entire space. Chu Tian was sent flying and slammed into the wall. The blood chalice left his hand and automatically flew towards the sarcophagus. When it landed on the top of the sarcophagus, it suddenly tilted several dozen degrees and a thick red liquid poured from the chalice onto the sarcophagus. This red liquid quickly spread across the sarcophagus and finally seeped into the cracks of the sarcophagus, where it was completely absorbed. Fuck. The blood chalice was restoring the head venerate's strength. At this time, the scarlet blood temple violently shook again. This little one is a disciple of the Tianmo cult, welcoming the return of the head venerate. Chu Tian quickly charged at the sarcophagus and shouted in a sorrowful voice, "I ask Sir Head Venerate to come out as soon as possible. All the branch lords have died in battle and only the leader is left to protect the head venerate. Now he is surrounded by experts from all sides and is on the verge of death. My scarlet blood branch is about to be extinguished." "What did you say?" A voice came from the sarcophagus. This voice sounded very twisted, like it was male or female. It was sharp and strange, like a child's voice, but it also had a sinister feeling to it. "Sir Head Venerate, there are several thieves coveting the scarlet blood treasure in the outer hall." Hong. The blood-red sarcophagus lid was suddenly opened. A red figure flew out. Chu Tian raised his head to take a look and his eyes widened. This head venerate was only around 3 feet tall and had the appearance of a child. His skin was as red as blood and his fingernails were as sharp as blades. He was a monstrous monster. A person with a strange appearance must have a special ability. This head venerate looked this strange, his methods must not be simple. The scarlet blood branch is one of the 10 great inheritances of the Tianmo cult, but it has actually fallen to this point. This childlike scarlet blood head venerate roared into the sky. That voice was even sharper than a sword, creating cracks in the floor. Chu Tian felt his heart skip a few beats. "Offending my scarlet blood, die." The scarlet blood head venerate grabbed the blood chalice floating in the air and like it had no weight or resistance, he shot out into the outer hall. So fast. Chu Tian was secretly shocked. The scarlet bloodhead venerate was not inferior to a peak 9th awakened soul layer cultivator. This recovery speed was just too shocking. Of course this was due to the blood chalice, but it was a good thing that Chu Tian had angered the scarlet bloodhead venerate, so he did not have time to recover his strength. Very good. Now it all depends on luck. Chu Tian raised the cloak he had just obtained to cover his body. He instantly turned into nothingness and disappeared on the spot. At this time, Wang Tu, Zhuo Yang, the 2 Warhounds experts, and the Scarlet Blood leader Shixin, the 5 of them charged into the Scarlet Blood Temple at the same time. Only the scene in front of them made them stunned. There were only a few of the thousands of pills. A large pile of empty bottles rolled on the ground. What was going on? Where was the Scarlet Blood treasure? The 5 experts were all stunned. A terrifying aura came from the inner hall. Actually, the Warhounds Nuo Luo, Wang Tu, and Zhuo Yang could all feel it. An unprecedented sense of danger enveloped them. There was no need to say it. The Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate had awakened. The Scarlet Blood Old Monster has awakened. Damn, was the Scarlet Blood treasure a trap? Everyone's lungs were about to explode from anger. They had taken the risk to search for treasures, but not only did they not see any precious treasures, they even had to fight with an old monster like the Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate. Shixin gave a cruel laugh. "The head Venerate has appeared, you should prepare to die." Although she did not know what was going on, the most important thing was to kill these intruders. The scarlet blood old monster is the common enemy of the southern summer and the war hounds. Wang Tu said to the war hounds Nuo Luo, "We should put down our grudges and deal with this old monster together." All right. Nuo Luo also had this intention. Chapter 286. When faced with the pressure of the head venerate's revival, the Southern Summer experts chose to form a temporary alliance with the Warhounds experts. Kill this old thing first. Wang Tu, Zhuoyang, and Nuo Luo, the three experts attacked together. The Scarlet Blood leader Shixin could not fight three people at once, so he was instantly sent flying and was heavily injured. However, the three of them did not have time to make a move before this demon was killed. Inside the main hall, a bloody wind suddenly blew. A red silhouette suddenly descended on top of everyone's head at an extremely fast speed. Blood-red energy condensed above everyone's head like a red cloud. Countless blood energy condensed into fine needles, suddenly raining down on the three of them. It's only this much. Zhuoyang controlled the flowing flame palanquin to meet it. When the strong energy needles fell on the flowing flame palanquin, they were all deflected and the flowing flame palanquin did not seem to be damaged at all. Wang Tu and Nuo Luo saw this and quickly hid behind the flowing flame palanquin. After fighting for a long time, they had already used up half their spirit energy, so they had to control their consumption and save every bit of energy. Only like this could they deal with the Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate. Countless red clouds condensed and the energy density increased by several dozen times. Finally it turned into the shape of a fist that slammed into the flowing flame palanquin. This ancient treasure was sent flying like a meteor. Most of the outer walls of the temple collapsed, revealing the faint red sky outside. Damn! Zhuoyang felt several cracks appear on the flowing flame palanquin. This treasure was given to him by the Nangong family and Zhuoyang had never been damaged since he obtained it. He never thought that a single attack from the Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate would be able to cause this much damage. The head venerate's 3-foot-tall body floated in the air and slowly floated out of the blood clouds. That blood-red energy continued to change behind him, finally turning into an incomparably large dark red skeleton. Nuo Luo released 5 spirit weapons. The 5 spirit weapons formed from wolf soldiers held long blades that came out of Nuo Luo's body, stabbing at the head venerate from different directions. The head venerate did not move at all. The spirit weapon blades stabbed into the skeleton, but they were blocked, unable to pierce through at all. Scarlet flames began to spread from the blades and the 5 spirit weapons were ignited, instantly turning to ashes. Nuo Luo's expression changed. This giant dark red skeleton should be the Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate's source spirit. He never thought it would be this strong. It could break the flowing flame palanquin with a single punch and it could cover its entire body. It was comparable to a top-grade defensive cultivation technique. He had both offense and defense, and he had the Blood Saint Cup in his hand, which allowed him to continuously recover his energy. His elemental energy was inexhaustible, and he was practically invincible. Moreover, the Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate had just awakened, so as time passed, he would become stronger and stronger, finally reaching the point where awakened soul cultivators could not defeat him, so the situation was very serious. Shixin excitedly shouted, "Greetings, Head Venerate." "Shixin, what's going on?" When the Head Venerate's eyes swept over the Scarlet Blood Temple that had been ransacked, his eyes seemed like they were about to spit out flames. Who did this? Old woman Shixin was taken aback. She didn't realize it until now. That's right, who was it that ransacked the Scarlet Blood Temple? This divine temple had been submerged in a poisonous swamp several hundred meters deep for a long time, so it was impossible for anyone to enter the divine temple before it opened. They had entered at almost the same time. Could it be? The ones that entered the divine temple were only Lung Feng and the Warhounds experts. The head venerate had already been released, which meant that the Warhounds experts had failed and Lung Feng was definitely in the divine temple. Although they didn't know how all of this happened, the most suspicious person was actually the most unremarkable Lung Feng. Nuo Luo sniffed the air. There are at least 3 people's scents. Damn, Wang Tu said through gritted teeth. Someone took advantage of us fighting and actually snuck in to ransack us. This is simply unforgivable. Shixin shouted with a dark face, "Lung Feng, this one knows you're here. Quickly scram out for me." There was not a single sound coming from inside or outside the main hall. The Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate was a bit stunned. Could it be that the person who ransacked the Scarlet Blood Temple was the person who had just woken him up? If it was like this, then this person must still be in the temple. Mind's eye. The Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate opened his mind's eye to investigate. In the end, what made the Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate in disbelief was that this brat had disappeared into thin air. Shadow Cloak. It's the Shadow Cloak. He stole the Shadow Cloak. Everything that happened here was done by him. The head Venerate was naturally filled with rage. The Scarlet Blood Temple had been ransacked and they had lost at least several tens of billions of Southern Shia gold coins. Those high-grade soul weapons, top-grade soul weapons, sacred medicines, sacred pills, and top-grade materials, which one of them wasn't an expensive thing. This was the starting resource for Tianmor cult's revival. Shashin. The head Venerate slapped out and Shashin was sent flying into the wall. She was already heavily injured and now she was even more injured. She did not dare resist the head Venerate's attack. Look at what you've done. Old woman Shashin spat out a few mouthfuls of blood and kneeled on the ground in a very sorry state. Sir head Venerate, please spare me. I have a way to find him. After saying this, she took out a scroll. If you don't appear, I'll shatter your mind. The Scarlet Blood Temple was silent and there was still no movement. Old woman Shashin saw that things had reached this point and could only make up her mind. Spirit energy wildly surged out and the spiritual contract scroll was instantly torn apart. There was no change at all. Old woman Shashin was stunned once again. Just what was going on here? Through the contract scroll, she could feel that Lung Feng was hiding nearby and was even secretly watching them. He was just using the Shadow Cloak to hide himself. Wang Tu, Zhuoyang, and Nuo Luo saw this and were filled with grief and indignation. Wang Tu coldly said, since 7-8 of the Scarlet Blood Temple's treasures have been stolen, it's not worth risking our lives. Let's retreat. That's what I was thinking. Zhuoyang's heart ached for the flowing flame palanquin. They had suffered a great loss in this treasure hunt. Now in the Scarlet Blood Temple, although there were still a large amount of cultivation techniques and materials, the high-quality ones had all been picked out. Although the remaining ones were very valuable, to people with their status, it was not worth it to fight with the Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate for these things. Want to leave? You think you can leave? The head Venerate was already filled with rage. He raised the blood chalice high up and his spirit energy surged out like a wave. The outer wall of the temple collapsed and the three of them were pushed outside. Old thief, since you won't rest until you die, then we'll fight you to the end. Wang Tu gave a roar and the dual-winged poison dragon fell in with a scarlet blood token in its hand. It broke through the blood-red barrier and its poison tail flew out like a hurricane. Scram! The head Venerate's source spirit swept out with a palm and grabbed the dual-winged poison dragon's tail. The dual-winged poison dragon was shocked and spat out a poison flame from its mouth. The poison flame was useless against the head Venerate as it was completely blocked by the source spirit. The head Venerate gave an explosive roar. The dual-winged poison dragon was thrown to the ground heavily. The blood chalice burst forth with a beam of red energy, which was completely infused into the other arm of the skeleton. The energy condensed into a bright red spear, which ruthlessly stabbed at the dual-winged poison dragon. No! Wang Tu shouted with red eyes. The blood-red spear pierced through the dual-winged poison dragon's body and forcefully nailed it to the ground. The dual-winged poison dragon howled and struggled as the blood poison quickly spread through its body through the wound, causing its skin to turn red and soft bit by bit. Finally, it gradually melted into pus and blood. The head Venerate released his strength once again. The spear in the skeleton's hand turned into a large bow and an arrow, instantly shooting at Zhuoyang who was preparing to escape. The flowing flame palanquin was already cracked and now with this heavy injury, it could no longer take it and a large hole appeared in it. Zhuoyang had no choice but to jump out and escape from the flowing flame palanquin, avoiding being killed by the arrow. The Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate's strength surpassed a normal peak 9th awakened soul layer expert. Now that he had the soul-contracting weapon, the blood chalice, it was not something an awakened soul realm expert could resist. Nuo Luo did not have any good feelings towards the southern Shia people, so how could he save them? He immediately put away his blades and charged out. The head venerate pointed in the air. A strong secret technique was used and spirit energy exploded out, instantly catching up to Nuo Luo. When Nuo Luo was about to charge out of the temple, it shattered his protective spirit energy and entered his body. Nuo Luo spat out a mouthful of blood. He did not stop and used this energy to increase his speed, finally escaping the Scarlet Blood Temple. Wang Tu saw the dual-winged poison dragon's body turn into thick blood and gradually stop struggling, knowing that his mount could not be saved. He gritted his teeth as he took out a jade talisman and slammed it into the ground. With a large explosion sound, an incomparably thick layer of dirt rose up, blocking them. Let's go. Wang Tu and Zhuo Yang flew away. The head venerate's giant blade slashed down and the dirt barrier shattered. When he was prepared to chase after the two of them, his body suddenly swayed and he almost fell from the sky. Damn! He had consumed too much spirit energy. The Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate had just woken up and could not use his weakened state, so he could not control himself and used too much spirit energy. Although he had the blood chalice in his hand and his strength would quickly recover, giving the other side a few seconds was enough for the two of them to escape. Wang Tu and Zhuo Yang ran away in a sorry state. Old woman Shixin had a dark expression as she felt very nervous. The Scarlet Blood had suffered heavy losses this time and she had a large responsibility. But, she could not imagine why that brat was a spy. But, just where was he hiding? Why was there a spiritual contract? Are you looking for us? A familiar voice sounded in old woman Shixin's ears and her expression instantly changed. But what followed was a dense rain of light bullets that fell onto old woman Shixin's body. Despicable. I'll kill you. Old woman Shixin was instantly injured by the source energy spears and her protective spirit energy dimmed once again. When she raised her right hand to attack, a cold aura came from the left and a palm slammed into the back of old woman Shixin's head. Pang! Old woman Shixin's head exploded and turned into countless ice shards that fell to the ground. This illustrious Tianmo cult's hall master finally died here with hatred in her heart. Ah! The head venerate found traces of these people, but because his spirit energy was exhausted, he could not stop them in time. Old woman Shixin was killed in front of him and he could only let out a sharp roar. Chu Tian walked out with Nangong Yun by his side. Chen Bingyu came forward and took on a battle stance. The Tianmo cult is famous throughout the world, but it was actually played by you juniors. The Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate's face turned dark. But do you really think you can deal with this Venerate with just you? Wishful thinking. Don't be too confident. If I didn't have a bit of confidence, how could I have let you out? Chu Tian gave the little fox a look and the little fox suddenly sucked in a breath. The energy from the blood chalice was immediately drawn over and swallowed by the little fox. What? The head Venerate's face fell. What kind of spirit beast is this? It can actually absorb the chalice's energy. Don't be so shocked yet. Little fox, it's up to you. The little fox spat out a soul puppet and its dark eyes revealed a look of pain. This was the last time it would summon the Hellfire Demon. A green light soared into the sky. An incomparably large burning giant appeared in front of the Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate. Chapter 287. The Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate was not a simple person. Since it was released, naturally he had to take care of it. This was Chu Tian's principle. Otherwise, if the Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate developed his influence in southern summer, it would be a large hidden danger in the future. Not to mention the countless southern summer citizens that would be implicated, miracle commerce would not be affected in the end. If he didn't remove the roots, there would be endless troubles in the future. Move! Chu Tian ordered. The little fox jumped onto the Hellfire Demon's head. Under the little fox's orders, the Hellfire Demon charged at the Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate with large steps. Chu Tian's confidence was not without reason. The Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate was a bit stronger than the Hellfire Demon, but with the little fox on the side, not only could it weaken the Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate's demonic art, it could also stop the Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate from using the blood chalice to recover. The Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate was very weak right now. This was the best time to eliminate it. Chen Bingyu did not need to make a move, her task was to protect Chu Tian and Nangong Yun. This was because while they were fighting, it was hard to guarantee that the head venerate wouldn't suddenly attack Chu Tian. Chen Bingyu was naturally not the head venerate's match. But she still had the ability to block it once or twice. After all, Chen Bingyu cultivated the starlight immortal body and her own strength was very strong. Dong, dong, dong. The hellfire demon charged at the head venerate and a giant flaming fist slammed forward. The head venerate's short body floated in the air and the scarlet skull silhouette shrouded it. That skull also raised a fist and collided head-on with the hellfire demon's fist. A large sound rang out. The hellfire demon's green abyss flame and the scarlet skull's blood energy collided at the same time, creating a sizzling sound like water and fire mixing together. The head venerate's blood energy was very corrosive, so it had a large advantage against normal cultivators. However, the hellfire demon was an elemental life form. It did not have a body of flesh and blood. The head venerate's strength had a very limited effect on the hellfire demon, but the green abyss flame could evaporate the blood energy. So from this point, the hellfire demon's strength could restrain the scarlet bloodhead venerate. Both sides took a step back. The little fox urged the hellfire demon to attack again. The scarlet bloodhead venerate condensed a giant spear that stabbed at the hellfire demon. The hellfire demon was not afraid in the slightest. His right fist ignited with flames as he punched towards the skeleton. At this time, the little fox suddenly stood up and took a deep breath. When the blood skeleton's spear was about to pierce the hellfire, it was suddenly torn apart by an external force. It wasn't just this condensed weapon. The scarlet bloodhead venerate felt his demonic cultivation technique weaken by at least 30%. Damn it! What was going on? This was an unheard of spirit beast, but its abilities were beyond imagination. It was the bane of devil cultivators. The little fox seemed like it could easily break through any demonic cultivation technique and there was nothing fancy about it. It was a simple and barbaric method of breaking through, directly taking away the opponent's energy. The scarlet bloodhead venerate wanted to stop, but it was already too late. The hellfire demon gathered a powerful fist and slammed into the scarlet bloodhead venerate's body. A giant hole was created in the blood skeleton and the wild energy fell onto the scarlet bloodhead venerate, making him feel like his flesh and bones were being crushed. He spat out a mouthful of demonic blood and was sent flying several dozen meters away. Nangongyun loudly praised, "Little fox. Beautifully done. Beat this demon to death." The little fox proudly wagged its tail and quickly urged the hellfire demon to charge forward. It raised its thick right foot to stomp down on the scarlet bloodhead venerate. The scarlet bloodhead venerate used both hands to block it. That incomparably large pressure was like a mountain, making the scarlet bloodhead venerate feel powerless. This monster was too strong. If they continued to fight, the situation would not be good. The scarlet bloodhead venerate's power forced the hellfire demon back a few steps. The scarlet bloodhead venerate activated the blood chalice, trying to use it to recover his spirit energy. How could the little fox give him this chance? "Come over for this, fox." The little fox forcefully sucked in. The energy from the blood chalice was all stolen and sucked into the little fellow's mouth. It even licked its lips a few times, looking like it had an endless aftertaste. The scarlet bloodhead venerate was simply going crazy with anger. These weak and lowly people could force him to this point. If he was at his peak, these small characters would not have been placed in his eyes at all. Die. The scarlet bloodhead venerate waved his hand and 4-5 blood arrows shot out. This time they did not attack the hellfire demon, rather they were all shot at Chu Tian. Facing this kind of attack, Chen Bingyu was already prepared. 3 crystal ice walls appeared in front of her at the same time. The blood arrows broke through one ice wall after another. Finally, when the blood arrows arrived in front of them, their strength had already been exhausted. Chen Bingyu shattered them with a single palm. The scarlet bloodhead venerate was facing the hellfire demon and the little fox that specialized in suppressing demonic arts. He did not have time to gather his strength at all. Chen Bingyu was different. She was prepared to defend at all times. One was attacking in a hurry, the other was waiting silently. It was very hard for a sneak attack to succeed in this situation. The scarlet bloodhead venerate's strength was becoming weaker and weaker. He could feel that the situation was bad. If he continued to fight, he would finally fail miserably. He no longer fought against the Hellfire Demon and charged out of the barrier. He actually wanted to run. One of the 10 great inheritances of the Tianmo cult, the Scarlet Blood Inheritance's head venerate, was actually being forced to run away by a few small southern summer country people. If this was known by the Tianmo cult's sect master, he would definitely spit out blood from anger. But how could Chu Tian let the Scarlet Blood head venerate escape so easily? Wasn't this letting the tiger return to the mountain? The little fox's figure flashed and turned into a mass of grey mist, quickly appearing in front of the head venerate. Teleportation? The Scarlet Blood head venerate's expression changed. He had indeed underestimated this spirit beast's skills. Because the little fox had appeared too suddenly, the Scarlet Blood head venerate was not sure if the little fox had any other skills, so he quickly slowed down. The Hellfire Demon caught up and sent a fist at the head venerate's back. The head venerate was sent flying again. The little fox seized this chance to leap forward and grab the head venerate's blood chalice. When the little fox grabbed the blood chalice, large amounts of strange ancient runes covered the chalice. The Scarlet Blood head venerate instantly felt his connection to the chalice being severed. Die. The head venerate wanted to slap it to death. Peng. The little fox turned into a mass of grey mist and disappeared. What made the head venerate speechless was that what disappeared with the little fox was the blood chalice in his hand. The Scarlet Blood branch's most important sacred object had been stolen by a little fox in the head venerate's hands in front of the head venerate. It was like a resounding slap to the head venerate's face. It made the Scarlet Blood head venerate completely lose his mind. Blood came out of his 7 orifices and his blood-red hair danced in the air as blood flames came out of his pores. Chu Tian was stunned. He is burning his essence blood, preparing to fight to the death. Be careful. The Scarlet Blood head venerate did not hesitate to use a forbidden technique to burn his essence blood in exchange for an instant increase in strength. This cultivation technique had a large side effect. After the battle ended, his cultivation base would drop by a large amount. So, unless it was a life and death struggle, no one would use this move. He couldn't care about that right now. Even if his cultivation base dropped, he had to kill these people. It could be imagined just how much the Scarlet Blood head venerate hated Chu Tian's group. The little fox chose to dodge and controlled the hell flame to retreat while sending out large amounts of green abyss flames. It wanted to use a long-range attack to slow down the head venerate while absorbing the energy from the head venerate. Strange. How could this fellow's energy be this strong? The little fox sucked away wave after wave, making the little fox very busy. The head venerate roared and released his source spirit once again. A blood-red glow suddenly covered the area. The blood skeleton that was released this time was completely different from the previous ones. The blood skeleton was covered in a thick layer of blood and it was holding an incomparably large battle axe in its hands. Its aura was several times stronger than before. Chu Tian revealed a look of shock. This aura clearly surpassed the awakened soul realm, reaching the 3rd large realm, the true spirit realm. This was not a battle of jumping realms, but rather a battle of jumping realms. If it was just jumping realms, there was a chance of victory, but if it was a battle of jumping realms, there was no chance of victory. The little fox continued to absorb several times. The blood skeleton's heavy armor weakened several times and the battle axe in its hands became smaller by several times. The Scarlet Blood head venerate had already charged in front of it and the large battle axe chopped down. The little fox quickly controlled the hell flame to dodge. Too fast. The axe still landed on Hellfire's shoulder, chopping off his left arm on the spot. The little fox used all its strength to absorb again. The blood skeleton's armor shattered and the battle axe in its hand became dim. However, the Scarlet Blood head venerate had already raised his battle axe and slashed out. The half-moon-shaped red glow swept across the hell flame and cut it in half. The instant the hell flame fell, the little fox suddenly exploded. Almost in an instant, the hell flame exploded and all of its energy was released at once. There were green flames that soared into the sky and slammed into the Scarlet Blood Temple's barrier, causing the entire Scarlet Blood Temple to tremble. Chu Tian's group of 3 were sent flying by the shockwave. The little fox retreated from the center of the explosion in a sorry state. Its beautiful snow-white fur was slightly damaged. It had clearly underestimated the head venerate's strength, but the head venerate had also underestimated its abilities. The explosion of the hell flame this time was enough to heavily injure that fellow. Nangong Yun quickly asked, "Is it dead?" Chen Bingyu opened her mind's eye and a scarlet outline appeared in the flames. Her brows immediately knit together. "It's not dead yet." Chen Bingyu opened her mind's eye and a scarlet outline appeared in the flames. Her brows immediately knit together. "It's not dead yet." Nangong Yun was shocked. "It's over. How could it be this strong? We're dead for sure this time." "That's not certain." Chu Tian was not panicked at all. The scarlet bloodhead venerate had already reached his limit. The little fox took in a large breath and its source spirit completely collapsed. Chen Bingyu shot out like an arrow and her palms came together to send a palm out. Wherever the blue and white ice palm went, the ground was covered in a thick layer of ice. Peng! When this palm energy hit the scarlet bloodhead venerate, the ice spirit energy turned into a solid ice crystal. An incomparably large icicle pierced through the head venerate's chest and nailed him to the scarlet blood temple's pillar. Nangong Yun patted her chest. "You scared this old lady, so you're already spent. You should have died several hundred years ago." Chu Tian looked at her and said, "Do you have any last words? Do you think you've won?" The scarlet bloodhead venerate never thought that he would lose to a group of brats. His face was filled with hatred and unwillingness as he angrily roared, "Even if this venerate dies, I'll drag you down with me." As soon as his voice fell, the entire temple began to tremble and actually began to sink. "This is bad." Chu Tian felt a large attractive force under his feet, as if gravity had increased by several dozen times. "The Scarlet Blood Temple will sink back into the swamp, quickly leave." The Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate gave a sharp laugh. "Leave? No one can leave, you'll be buried with me." Chapter 288. The head Venerate activated the temple's self-destruct trap. The Scarlet Blood Temple released a powerful source energy array fluctuation. This energy created a strong suction force that caused the center of the temple to cave in. Large cracks began to spread in all directions and the buildings began to collapse. The ground also began to crack and large amounts of swamp mud began to spray out from the ground. This was not a simple silence. This was complete destruction. The Scarlet Swamp was stirred up. The wild and powerful suction force first tore the Scarlet Blood Temple apart before dragging the remains into the abyss, burying them several hundred meters or even 1,000 meters deep in the darkness. From now on, the Scarlet Blood Temple would no longer exist in this world. The treasures hidden in the Scarlet Blood Temple would forever be buried underground. Nangong Yun shouted in disbelief, "What kind of trap is this? Why can't I move?" The pulling force coming from the shrine was much stronger than they had imagined. Everyone was like a piece of iron that had been firmly sucked in by a magnet. Every step they took became extremely difficult. Even Chen Bingyu found it difficult to move. Hong, hong, hong. An even worse situation occurred. The entire temple's barrier began to crack and the giant barrier began to shrink. This created a strong pressure that seemed like it wanted to crush everything in the barrier into a meat patty. A double pressure appeared at the same time. It was already impossible for the three of them to escape the Scarlet Blood Temple. Ha, ha, ha. Die, die, be buried with the scarlet blood. The Scarlet Blood Head Venerate wildly laughed. He allowed his body to fall into the center of the collapse and be swallowed by the endless swamp. Fuck. Nangong Yun loudly cursed, "This old demon still wants to trick us before he dies." There was no use saying anything now. The Scarlet Blood Temple was collapsing very quickly and the three of them couldn't escape, so they would die without a doubt. The little fox could teleport away, but it couldn't bring anyone else. It was anxiously running around, but there was nothing it could do. Were they really going to die here? Nangong Yun and Chen Bingyu felt a deep sense of helplessness. "You guys charge, don't look back." In this dangerous moment, Chu Tian suddenly shouted, "Leave immediately." "You think this old lady doesn't want to leave?" He really couldn't move. Most of the Scarlet Blood Temple had collapsed and the deep purple swamp swallowed everything. It was like a whirlpool in the sea, quickly spinning. The fragments of the temple floated above the whirlpool, like islands being swallowed by the endless whirlpool. There was no other way. Chu Tian slammed his palms together. A mysterious and vast power suddenly gushed out from his body. Chu Tian's entire aura suddenly changed. He was no longer lazy and carefree. Instead, he was like a high and mighty monarch, a god looking down on all living beings. One of his eyes turned silver and the other white, and the 7 pupils spun within them. In the end, they gathered together and overlapped with each other. It was like a 7-colored flower, full of strangeness and mystery. Chu Tian closed his silver left eye and only opened his white right eye. The white pupil gradually lit up. An indescribable force was released in all directions. All the collapsing was stopped, and all the pressure disappeared in an instant. Nangong Yun and Chen Bingyu were both stunned. What kind of power was this? Let's go. Blood flowed out of Chu Tian's eyes as he gritted his teeth and jumped out. The 3 of them charged out of the barrier together. When Chu Tian fell to the ground, his eyes returned to normal, but his face was as white as paper. He fell to the ground and had already lost consciousness. Nangong Yun quickly picked him up. Hey, what happened to you? That power of his is very strong, but it also has a large restriction. Chen Bingyu said with a serious expression. He should have fainted from exhaustion. Let's leave this place. All right. Nangong Yun carried Chu Tian on her back and the 2 of them quickly left the swamp. The little fox followed behind. When they didn't go far, it suddenly found a giant beast lying on the ground. Its body was covered in wounds and it had already been killed. It was the super demon beast of the Scarlet Swamp, the dragon lizard beast. The little fox stopped moving and spat out the soul puppet from its mouth. It held it in its hand and waved it at the dragon lizard beast's corpse a few times. Traces of purple things gathered around the corpse and were all absorbed into the little puppet. This puppet turned into a miniature dragon lizard beast. The little fox grinned and nodded in satisfaction. Then it swallowed the soul puppet back into its stomach and its 4 limbs teleported a few times. It quickly caught up to the 3 of them and left the Scarlet Swamp. Nangong Yun and Chen Bingyu did not know what method Chu Tian used to stop the collapse of the temple. Actually, the method Chu Tian used far surpassed their imaginations. Chu Tian released a kind of energy that caused the surrounding space to freeze, so the collapse could not continue and the 3 of them were able to escape. This kind of ability to control space, it was like a spiritual god's ability. Because of this, Chu Tian had consumed a large amount of energy. With his awakened soul realm cultivation, he could not handle this kind of powerful energy, so he fainted. The 2 girls first placed Chu Tian in Scarlet Swamp Town. Chu Tian fainted for 3 days and 3 nights before he finally slowly woke up. He let out a long sigh of relief. I'm still alive. Boss has finally woken up. You were truly too powerful at that time. Nangong Yun looked at Chu Tian with a face of worship. You saved our lives. I really need to properly thank you. Then how are you going to thank me? Chu Tian weakly looked at her. Could it be that you're going to repay me with your body? Nangong Yun patted her firm chest. If you don't mind, I don't mind either. Since I'm married to someone, I won't let the goodies flow into an outsider's field. Coo, coo. Chu Tian coughed a few times and waved his hand as he said, I'm hungry, go get something to eat. Chu Tian ate several level 2 cans of food and his strength quickly recovered. Although his head was still hurting, it would be fine after 3-5 days of rest. Chu Tian did not think that after activating it for 1-2 seconds, he would actually faint. He was still too weak right now. Nangong Yun and Chen Bingyu saw that Chu Tian was not willing to talk about it, so they did not take the initiative to ask. After all, everyone had their own secrets and most powerful cultivators had their own trump cards. This kind of matter was not suitable for them to get to the bottom of. We've already been delayed for an entire 7-8 days because of the Tianmo cult. Nangong Yun said in a slightly worried voice, do you think the Southern Summer King will punish us for this? The royal proclamation wants us to immediately head to Imperial City and did not set a time for us to reach Imperial City. I'm not worried at all, so what are you worried about? After Chu Tian ate and drank his fill, he was once again filled with energy. He hooked his finger at the little fox beside him. Immediately take out the chalice for me. The little fox unwillingly spat out the blood chalice. This was a genuine soul-contracting weapon. Now that the scarlet bloodhead venerate was dead, the spiritual imprint on the blood chalice had disappeared. But what made it hard for Chu Tian was that when Chu Tian touched the blood chalice, there was a surge of energy that came from it. Chu Tian's entire hand was dyed red, like he had just taken it out of a pool of blood. This kind of burning feeling was like strong acid had been poured on it. Chu Tian knit his brows. As expected, there's no way to use it. Nangong Yun and Chen Bingyu gave it a try, but the result was the same. Their attributes and cultivation techniques were completely different from the blood chalice, so naturally they could not control this soul-contracting weapon. If this thing is useless, then wouldn't we have taken a large risk for nothing? You can't say it's useless. Chu Tian put on a pair of gloves and took the blood chalice to the next room. There were 18 barrels in the room and the yin corpses had already been refined in them for several days. Chu Tian directly poured the red liquid from the blood chalice into the barrels, consuming around half of the wind. The yin corpses were instantly covered in blood veins as a kind of energy quickly grew in their bodies. The blood chalice could condense true blood. Chu Tian also had the divine blood material in his hands. This combination was enough to refine a group of powerful divine blood yin corpses. Although he couldn't use the blood chalice to fight, it was still very suitable to be used as a tool to refine corpses. The three of them stayed in Scarlet Swamp Town for another 5 days. Chu Tian kept adding true blood to the corpse refining barrels and the strength of this group of divine blood yin corpses increased. Each of them had the strength of a peak 6th awakened soul layer cultivator. Not bad. This speed was very satisfying. Chu Tian was prepared to go to Imperial City and refine another batch of diluted divine blood. At that time, he would turn these 18 divine blood yin corpses into true soul realm yin corpses. True soul realm experts. That was a very strong bodyguard. With 18 true soul realm yin corpses by his side, the number of people in Imperial City that could deal with Chu Tian could be counted on one hand. Chu Tian continued his journey north. He traveled day and night without stopping, finally arriving at the core of the Imperial region. It was also the most prosperous city in southern Xia, Imperial City. The young miss had been in Imperial City for a month and a half. He didn't know what the situation was like in Imperial City. When Chu Tian walked into the magnificent Imperial City, the streets of Imperial City were filled with electric lighthouses. There were several miracle source energy hotels along the streets and there was a 10-meter tall advertisement on the tall buildings in front of them. The picture was of a young girl holding a can of food. There was also a graffiti made with paint, as well as all kinds of advertising slogans. Is this Ying? Nangong Yun looked at the incomparably large advertisement. This isn't Ying's style at all. She actually hung her own picture this high. There were many loudspeakers on the streets of Imperial City and there were people carrying magnetic sound machines on their backs. This was not much different from Central State City. Chu Tian couldn't help being secretly speechless. The young miss was truly efficient. This was just the result that he had seen, but it already made Chu Tian very satisfied. When the three of them passed through the streets, the people around them suddenly cried out in surprise. Everyone, quickly look. That's the Wang family. The Imperial City citizens all cried out in surprise. There was a row of luxurious beast carriages in front of them, passing through the wide road. Each beast carriage was filled with treasure chests, looking like they were very rich. A citizen asked in a puzzled voice, "Where are they going?" Of course it's Miracle Commerce. Today is Miracle Commerce's Vice Chairman Meng Qingwu's birthday. Is that true? It's actually Madam Meng Qingwu's birthday. Everyone seemed to be very familiar with Meng Qingwu. In just a short month, Meng Qingwu had already made a name for herself in Imperial City. But what made Chu Tian curious was that even he didn't know Meng Qingwu's birthday, so how did these grandsons know? Let's go take a look. Chapter 289. Miracle Commerce's Imperial City headquarters was the residence of the great scholar Jiyu Chenqiu. This was a place that the Southern Summer King specially rewarded after the great scholar made a large contribution to southern Xia. It was only inferior to the Three Rulers' Palace and the Royal Palace, but it was not any smaller than the Central State headquarters. Jiyu Qianqiu was not used to living in such a large residence, so in order to settle down the Meng Qingwu sisters as soon as possible, he emptied out the entire residence and used it as Miracle Commerce's Imperial City headquarters. It was also because of this that most of the Imperial City people knew that the great scholar had a close relationship with Miracle Commerce. So, even if Miracle Commerce came to Imperial City and made a series of bold moves, offending the interests of many people, there was very little resistance. Today was Meng Qingwu's birthday. Miracle Commerce's vice-chairman was not simple, opening up a world in the complicated Imperial City in less than 2 months. Although it was because of the great scholar's relationship, it was inseparable from her own ability. If it was a normal manager, they wouldn't even be able to reach a quarter of the current situation. Now, Miracle Commerce's products were all over Imperial City, so its influence was not weak. Meng Qingwu had become the goddess of the Imperial City people. A country-destroying young woman, not only could she control a shocking amount of wealth, she also had outstanding abilities. The saying that one should take Meng Qingwu as a wife was now the most popular saying in Imperial City. This was just the beginning. Miracle Commerce's potential was so big that the company would not stop. Sooner or later, it would become the most outstanding company in southern Xia. Therefore, Meng Qingwu's birthday was not simple. This gave countless people a chance and reason to approach Meng Qingwu, so they all came to give gifts. Meng Qingwu had just arrived, so she had to pay attention to these local snakes. When Meng Qingwu gained a firm foothold, these people would not have a chance to curry favor with her even if they wanted to. The young miss is doing quite well. When Chu Tian came to Miracle Commerce, he was first satisfied with the headquarters. This building is even more luxurious than Central State, it's almost like a palace. This was a 9-way palace building. The area it occupied was around 50% larger than the Central State headquarters, and the amount of space inside was several times greater. Even if 10,000 people were to live in it, it would be more than enough, and it would not feel crowded. This was enough to satisfy the development needs of a large chamber of commerce. Nangong Yun said with slight disdain, Sister Qing Wu is not only smart, she is also very hardworking and does everything herself. Unlike some people, you can't even see a shadow of them all day. Are you mocking me, your boss? If that's the case, then it's a misunderstanding. Chu Tian said shamelessly, are you deliberately slacking off? Aren't I purposely leaving something for you to do to strengthen your position in the Chamber of Commerce? You have to understand boss's good intentions. He would rather be gossiped about behind his back to clear a stage for you guys. Nangong Yun rolled her eyes, too lazy to talk to this guy. What are we standing here for? After traveling for more than half a month, we can finally have a good meal. Let's go. Halt. Just as the three of them stepped forward, a guard stopped them. Do you have an invitation? What? You're asking me for an invitation? Chu Tian walked forward and patted his face. Please open your eyes and look clearly. This handsome face in front of you is the pass. Move aside. The guards' faces turned dark and they were about to explode in anger. Where did this fellow come from? He was simply asking for a beating. The outer guards of Miracle Commerce were all recruited by the Imperial City, mainly arranged by the great scholar and the calm martial ruler, so it was normal that they had never seen Chu Tian before. Nangong Yun quickly walked forward and took out a token from her waist. Do you recognize this? Ah, this is. The expressions of the guards changed. This was the token of a high-level member of Miracle Commerce. The second young Miss Meng Yingying had one, which meant that this person's position was around the same as Meng Yingying. The guards quickly moved to the side and respectfully invited the three of them in. Chu Tian was filled with depression. Damn it, this is my own territory. But seeing that these guards were all tall and strong, it seemed like Miracle Commerce had quite a bit of power in Imperial City. Miracle Commerce's main courtyard was already filled with people and the company's employees were busy entertaining them. At this time, the banquet had already begun. The Source Energy chefs had cooked thousands of dishes and brought them out for everyone. Quickly look. Nangong Yun looked over and called out in pleasant surprise, isn't that Yingying and big sister Qingwu? The three of them looked into the distance and saw the Meng Qingwu sisters in the center of the hall. The two of them were very solemn as they received the guests. After not seeing the two sisters for over a month, They looked a bit thinner, but their complexions were very good. It seemed like their cultivations had made large progress. Heavenly cloud commerce, 1 10,000-year-old purple crystal, Zhao family head, 1 secret face halting pill. Countless gifts flew into the hall like snowflakes, piling up into a small mountain. Chu Tian's eyes went wide. They could earn this much from a single birthday? It made him want to throw a party. The three of them did not have time to go over. Suddenly, a loud voice came out. Wang family's young master Wang Yuan, 10 boxes of deep-sea pearls, 100 bolts of 1,000-year golden silk, 1 dragon-tamed beast carriage. To celebrate young Miss Meng Qingwu's birthday. The entire crowd was in an uproar. This was truly a large sum. It was just a normal birthday. Was there a need to give such a large gift? Meng Qingwu slightly knit her brows as if she was not very happy, but she quickly returned to normal. With a polite smile, she said, "Thank you, young master Wang Yuan." Ha, ha, ha. Wang Yuan was a young man with an elegant appearance. He looked even younger than Meng Qingwu, at most 17 to 18 years old. From his entourage and bearing, he clearly came from a large family. Coming to your palace today is not only to celebrate the chairman's birthday, but also to announce an important matter. Adding this matter today, it can be considered double happiness. The Wang family was very influential in Imperial City. This family was a large family in the kingdom, second only to the 3 large families in Imperial City. Although Meng Qingwu did not like this family, they were still very powerful, so she did not dare to rashly make a move. She was a smart person. The Wang family's way of doing things was tyrannical. At this time, she first used diplomacy before resorting to force. What she was going to propose next would definitely be very difficult. Young Master Wang, if you have something to say, why don't we talk about it after the banquet is over? No, no. This matter must be made known to everyone. Wang Yuan shook his head, not giving Meng Qingwu any leeway. My family has already agreed to let me marry young Miss Meng Yingying. As soon as he said that, the entire crowd was in an uproar. Meng Qingwu and her sister were even more dumbfounded. Congratulations, young Master Wang. Congratulations, young Master Wang. Everyone stood up to congratulate him. Wang Yuan said with a smile, such a good thing, and on such a good day, I think we should also fix the wedding. What does Chairman Meng think? Wang Yuan was here to propose marriage. Meng Yingying was so angry that she almost jumped off the roof. What nonsense are you saying? Your family agrees. Do I agree? How can you be this unreasonable? Yingying, believe me. From the first time I saw you, I already fell in love with you. The marriage of a man and woman should be arranged by the elders. I think Chairman Meng would not reject this good thing, right? Relax, I can guarantee that once Yingying enters my Wang family, she will be my, Wang Yuan's, official wife. Wang Yuan confidently looked at Meng Qingwu. If our 2 families form an alliance, we will definitely be successful in the future. Even the 3 large families will have to be wary of us. Young Master Wang really knows how to joke. Meng Qingwu's face sunk and she was already very dissatisfied. I don't dare be careless with my little sister's marriage. If Yingying really likes it, then it's fine, but you are forcing her into a marriage. Humph. Could it be that this young master is not good enough for Yingying? Then I'm curious, could it be that you want Yingying to marry into the royal family? Why don't you look at yourself in the mirror? Who do you think you are? I'd rather marry a beggar than marry you. Meng Yingying fiercely scolded him and then anxiously added, I already have someone I like. If I tell you his name, you'll be scared to death. You can't even compare to a single strand of his hair. Meng Qingwu couldn't help looking at her little sister with a strange look before bluntly saying, Please forgive Qingwu for not agreeing to this request. Shame and anger. Anger. This Wang Yuan's face was turned into a pig's liver color after being rejected in front of everyone. This young master has come with such sincerity to propose, but you dare treat me like this? Do you know the power of my Wang family? Offending the Wang family, you can forget about staying in Imperial City. Meng Qingwu did not give an inch. I ask young Master Wang to take back your gift. Miracle commerce does not need to look at other people's faces. Meng Qingwu, I advise you not to be too ruthless. You will have to go through my Wang family's door sooner or later. Now marry my little sister over. Everyone will be a family from now on. We can talk things over. Meng Qingwu's face changed. What did you say? I might as well tell you honestly and also remind everyone here who has thoughts of coveting Chairman Meng. Wang Yuan arrogantly declared in a loud voice, as if he was declaring his sovereignty, Meng Qingwu is the woman my big brother likes. She can only belong to my big brother in this life, so you guys should give up on this idea. If anyone dares cross the line, then think carefully about what kind of consequences they will face. There were quite a few young men here who were admirers of Meng Qingwu, but when they heard Wang Yuan's words, their attitudes all changed. If that person likes her, then this Meng Qingwu would really be a pity, a pity. Who the fuck do you think you are? A figure quickly charged forward and a fist landed on Wang Yuan's face. Half of Wang Yuan's handsome face was deformed and he was sent flying into the opposite wall. Not good. The Wang family's young master has been hit. This is going to be a big disaster. The guests were all panicked and they all took the initiative to leave to avoid trouble. The Meng Qingwu sisters were stunned, but when they saw the person who did it, Meng Yingying's eyes popped out like they were about to spit out flames. You still know how to come. Chu Tian smiled at her. We'll catch up later. After saying this, Chu Tian directly walked over. Wang Yuan covered his face in fear, spitting out blood as he said in a frightened voice, You dare hit me? Shua. Chu Tian pulled out the netherworld sword. What does hitting you count for? If I don't let you taste something powerful today, you won't know what I, Chu Tian, am capable of. When he saw the ice-cold blade and the undisguised killing intent coming from Chu Tian, Wang Yuan was filled with fear. He really would make a move against this person. Meng Qingwu quickly stopped him. Chu Tian, enough. Chu Tian. This person was Chu Tian. Although Chu Tian had never come to Imperial City before, his name had already spread throughout Imperial City. This was a fellow that even dared to capture the Western Marquis Southern State Army. He was the most arrogant youth in Southern Shia's history. However, because Chu Tian was too arrogant, many people in Imperial City were dissatisfied. The Wang family's young master was one of the people that didn't like Chu Tian. I even dared to hit the Western Marquis. Chu Tian laughed as he looked at this brat. Do you think you are more precious than the Western Marquis? Chu Tian. Meng Qingwu had already run to Chu Tian's side. Today is my birthday, give me some face. Chu Tian saw that Meng Qingwu's gaze was strange. He knew that Meng Qingwu had a cautious personality, but Meng Qingwu also understood Chu Tian's personality. If this person wasn't special, just based on his attempt to steal her little sister, Meng Qingwu would not have let him off. All right. Chu Tian put away his sword. I won't cut him, but a beating is unavoidable. Nangong, I'll leave him to you. No problem. Nangong Yun cracked his knuckles and walked in front of Wang Yuan with a fiendish smile. He dragged Wang Yuan out of the hall. Ah! Save me. A pitiful scream made everyone's blood run cold. Meng Qingwu's eyes flashed and she gave a helpless sigh. Chu Tian really was the incarnation of trouble, causing this kind of trouble as soon as he came to Imperial City. He didn't even ask the other side's background before making such a heavy move. This matter would not end here. Chapter 290. The young Miss' birthday celebration had been completely destroyed, so naturally it could not continue. After Meng Qingwu sent off the guests, she secretly met with Chu Tian. Her beautiful face revealed a trace of rebuke. Why did you make such a big commotion as soon as you came? The young miss can't not appreciate people's good intentions. Isn't this all for you? Chu Tian's attitude was very firm as he said, There is a grandson that dares to bully you sisters. No matter who it is, I can't stand it. Even if it is the Southern Summer King's son, I will still beat him. Meng Qingwu's heart felt warm. Chu Tian's personality was like this. He was very loyal to the people around him, so he couldn't be blamed. Chu Tian saw the young miss' serious expression and asked, What? Could it be that this surnamed Wang's background is deeper than the three great clans? That was impossible. Southern Shia's three great clans were already at the top of the hierarchy. Although Chu Tian's information network was not very fast, it was impossible for Chu Tian not to have heard of an existence comparable to the three great clans. The Wang family naturally cannot compare to the three great clans, but the Wang family's position is very special. Meng Qingwu paused and first asked Chu Tian a question. Have you heard of the Great Summer Royal Family? Great Summer Royal Family? What was that? Meng Qingwu knew that he had never heard of it when she saw this. The Great Summer Royal Family refers to the royal family of the Great Summer Country. When the War Hounds Kingdom's Fang King attacked the Great Summer Country's imperial city, he massacred the Great Summer Country's royal family. The Great Summer Country's direct descendants and several main branches all died, so the Dongfang family became the new royal family. Chu Tian was puzzled. What does this have to do with the Wang family? Of course it's related. Meng Qingwu said in a somewhat serious voice, the Great Summer Country's royal family could not have been massacred in the past. For example, after the Dongfang family led the three great clans to chase away the war hounds, these descendants of the Great Summer Country moved back to Imperial City. These collateral branches did not have the qualifications to inherit the throne, and the strength of the old royal family was far from what it used to be. The first-generation Southern Summer King accepted them. In order to commemorate the previous royal family and to prevent them from causing chaos, the Southern Summer King ordered them to abandon their nature and change their surname to Wang. Do you understand now? This was the origin of the Wang family. He was actually a descendant of the old royal family. But so what if he was the descendant of the old royal family? This world did not pay much attention to orthodoxy, not to mention that they were not orthodoxy. For a family to become a royal family, they first had to have overwhelming power. In this aspect, the Nangong clan and Shangguan clan were barely qualified to compete with the Dongfang clan. The Wang clan was far from being qualified. This was also the reason why the Southern Summer King could tolerate them. Meng Qingwu explained, starting from the first Southern Summer King, the Wang family has had two marquises appear. As a result, the Wang clan's power rapidly rose, and in this generation, the third marquis will soon be born. What do you mean by immediately? This person has not been officially conferred a marquis, but with his military merits, it is only a matter of time. This person is the Wang family's eldest young master, Wang Tianlong. He has just turned 30 years old and is already in the 9th awakened soul layer, but his battle strength is already comparable to the 8 marquises. Thinking about it like this, he was indeed strong. Wang Tianlong should not be weaker than Chu Xinghe. 10 years ago, the Nangong family's blazing flame army was destroyed and this person led the battle dragon army to reinforce the front lines. After 10 years of tempering, the battle dragon army has become one of the top armies in the Southern Summer Country. Their military merits are illustrious and their fame is widespread. So, everyone thinks that Wang Tianlong will be conferred a marquis. It is only a matter of time. What did you say? The battle dragon army. Chu Tian seemed like he thought of something. It couldn't be this coincidental, right? He quickly asked, what relationship does the winged dragon General Wang Tu have with him? You know Wang Tu? Meng Qingwu was a little surprised, thinking that Chu Tian did not know. Wang Tu is the battle dragon army's vice-general and the eldest young master's uncle. All right. This was the so-called enemies wouldn't meet unless they met. This enmity was not unjust at all. Even if Chu Tian did not beat Wang Yuan this time, Miracle Commerce and the Wang family would not be able to get along. Wang Tu's mount was indirectly killed by Chu Tian and the matter of Chu Tian robbing the Scarlet Blood Temple could not be kept a secret forever. How could Wang Tu take this loss? Forget it, forget it. So what if the Wang family was strong? So what if the Wang family's young master became the youngest marquis in history? I, Chu Tian, have made countless enemies. One more doesn't matter, one less doesn't matter. If they want revenge, then let them line up first. Chu Tian said this and his tone suddenly changed. Speaking of this future youngest marquis in southern Xia seems to be interested in the young miss. Could it be that the young miss doesn't care about this at all? Meng Qingwu fiercely glared at him. If you say this again, I'll be angry. Fuck, I was just casually asking. We can talk about it. Why would I be angry? Chu Tian quickly changed the topic. Where did that little girl Yingying go? She is normally very clingy, but when I came to Imperial City this time, she didn't even say a few words to me before leaving. This doesn't match her personality. You're still talking about it. It's all your fault. Fuck, what does this have to do with me? I didn't offend her at all. Did you forget what you promised Yingying in Central State City? What did I say? Damn it, you actually really forgot about it. You clearly said that you would come as soon as you received the royal proclamation. Do you know how happy Ying was when the king sent out the royal proclamation? She sent people to inquire about you every day and personally went out to greet you, but in the end, you didn't even arrive after half a month. Meng Qingwu stared at him. Do you think Ying will be angry? Chu Tian patted his forehead. Damn, he really forgot. I met a sudden situation on the way. This was something that couldn't be helped. Meng Qingwu had a serious expression. You didn't even give her an explanation when you saw her. What would Ying think? She is a sensitive and pure person. She would think that you didn't put her in your heart at all. It would be strange if she wasn't sad. All right, I was wrong. I'll go and apologize to Ying now, all right? Chu Tian turned to leave. I'll go now, young miss. Bye-bye. Meng Qingwu saw Chu Tian quickly leave and her autumn water-like eyes slightly flashed a few times. She couldn't help revealing a complex smile. What kind of person was this fellow? He was normally overbearing and had a strong ego, not willing to eat any losses, but he was willing to put down his status to apologize to a little girl. He really was a contradictory person. Chu Tian prepared a large pile of gifts as he came to Meng Ying's room. Ying, are you there? Little Ying, say something. I know you're inside. If you don't say anything, I'll come in. A soft snort came from the room. Since she didn't refuse, that meant she agreed. Chu Tian pushed open the door. Meng Ying was sitting in front of the desk, holding a book. She was completely focused on reading, not even turning her head. I'm studying, don't disturb me. This girl was really angry. Chu Tian giggled as he walked in front of Meng Ying. What book are you reading? You should know that I'm very knowledgeable, so I can teach you a bit. Who needs your guidance? Meng Ying twisted her little face. I can learn by myself. Aya. This girl was quite stubborn. Chu Tian pretended not to hear her. Are you angry? You already know the answer. Me, Nangong, and big sister Bing had a fortuitous encounter on the road, so we were delayed. Chu Tian could only apologize to the angry little girl. To make up for my mistake, I've brought you a gift. Just treat it as an apology. When Meng Ying heard this, her face softened a bit. But because of her face, she still snorted and said, Don't think that you can coax me with some random things, I'm not a child. I've prepared several top-grade soul weapons for you, several dozen bottles of pills, and Chu Tian said a large pile of things. Meng Ying was stunned. Where did all these treasures come from? Chu Tian suddenly thought of something and said with a sigh, You might not know, but in order to prepare these gifts for you, I had to fight a demon for a day and a night. In the end, I was seriously injured and was in a coma for 3 days and 3 nights, almost dying. Ah! Meng Ying turned her head in a panic. Really? Don't lie to me. You don't trust me that much. Chu Tian made a pained expression, as if his injuries hadn't healed and were about to flare up again. Fine, you can ask Nangong. I was really unconscious for 3 days. I thought I wouldn't wake up for the rest of my life. I believe you. Where are you injured? Meng Ying quickly came over and touched Chu Tian's body. Are you alright? Why are you so stupid? The company has money and power. Why did you take the risk? This girl was too stupid. Just a few words of coaxing and she was able to divert her attention. Chu Tian pretended to be exhausted. Isn't this all for you sisters? Although Miracle Commerce has money, we can't convert it into cash in a short period of time. So I took a risk and got a large amount of pills and equipment to help you raise your strength. You know we have many enemies and Imperial City is not safe. Saying this, he then pretended to be distressed. Who would have thought that after narrowly escaping death and helping you beat up the bad guys who came to bully you, a certain young lady would be angry because I didn't come to Royal City on time. It really makes me sad. Meng Ying's face flushed red and she instantly felt guilty. Her 2 watery eyes became misty. It's my fault, don't be sad, okay? I'll apologize to you, okay? Forget it, if a beauty makes a mistake, I can forgive you once. Chu Tian patted Meng Ying's shoulder. Just this once. Meng Ying nodded and said, Then don't take risks for us in the future. If something happens, how will I live in the future? Saying this, She lowered her head in embarrassment. Don't worry, everything is under control. Chu Tian said this and suddenly asked, today in the hall, you said you already have someone you like. Fuck, who is it? Tell me loud and clear. Meng Yingying's face turned as red as an apple. Do I need you to care? Nonsense. Chu Tian revealed a fierce appearance, daring to steal my little Yingying, I'll have my brothers chop him to death. Meng Yingying wished she could find a hole to jump into. This bastard was clearly pretending to be confused. While Meng Yingying was at a loss, someone suddenly ran to the door and shouted, Chairman, there is a royal proclamation, inviting the chairman to the palace to see the king. Damn, interrupting me at this critical moment. Chu Tian impatiently waved his hand, I know, I'll go now. Will it be dangerous to see the king? Meng Yingying was very worried. She had been in Imperial City for half a month and had never seen the Southern Summer King, but she knew the Southern Summer King's character. He was a very strong and overbearing person. Not only did you miss your return, you even injured the Wang family's young master. With the great scholar and the calm martial ruler here, what is there to be afraid of? Chu Tian said in a high-spirited voice, isn't it just the Southern Summer King? I'll go see him for a bit and you can continue reading. If there is anything you don't understand, remember to ask. Chu Tian left Meng Yingying's room and couldn't help laughing. This silly girl was truly silly to the point of being cute. She would believe anything he said. If he wanted to coax this girl, wouldn't it be as easy as reaching out his hand? Chu Tian was in a very good mood. He immediately changed his clothes and sat in a luxurious beast carriage, swaggering into the palace. Chapter 291. Southern Summer Royal Palace's main hall. Several dozen top-level characters were gathered here. On the high 9-level jade throne, there was the highest-ranked king of Southern Xia sitting there. There were 3 luxurious thrones under the 9 steps that were placed on the 7th step. These were the thrones of Southern Xia's 3 sovereigns. On the left was the refined ruler, on the right was the burning sun army, and in the middle was the calm martial ruler. The 3 sovereigns had all arrived at this moment. Scholar Chu Tian has arrived. A deep voice came into the main hall. The attention of these large characters was instantly attracted. Everyone looked over to see a white-clothed youth walking fearlessly into the grand hall with his head held high. He was much younger than most people imagined, his eyes were bright and full of expression, like the cold stars in the night sky, his expression natural, his limbs extremely casual, and he didn't lose his composure in the slightest. This was the famous Central State Chu Tian. Everyone began to discuss in whispers. The calm martial ruler gave a faint nod and the refined ruler narrowed his eyes. There was no change on the surface, but there was a hidden torrent in the depths of his eyes. The burning sun ruler had the biggest reaction. He had an angry expression as he stared at Chu Tian, who was walking in. Of the 3 sovereigns, the burning sun ruler was the one with the least subtlety. Chu Tian really could not understand this fellow. How did he sit on the monarch's throne so firmly? Under the 1 king and 3 sovereigns were naturally the other important ministers of Southern Xia. The leader was the great tutor Jiyu Chenqiu and the others were the leaders of the various large families. In short, when Chu Tian walked in, there were at least several hostile gazes directed at him. It seemed like Chu Tian had quite a few hidden threats in Southern Xia. Bold Chu Tian. A dignified voice came from the highest point of the hall. It was so loud that it made people dizzy, just like a heavenly voice coming from the clouds. Following this, an earth-shattering pressure came from Chu Tian's body. This was the might of a king. How could a king not have a deterrent? Not to mention the Southern Summer King's strength, even if he only had a normal cultivation base, he could still hold the throne for several decades and cultivate the might of a king. But what did a king count for? Not to mention a mere king, even the emperors of the super empires of the continent back then treated Chu Tian as a distinguished guest and treated him with great courtesy. That was 30,000 years in the future. Frankly speaking, the current kings were not even qualified to carry their shoes. Chu Tian was not affected by the king's might at all, but at this moment, he had to give the Southern Summer King some face. After all, there was no benefit in offending the Southern Summer King and it would only make everyone unhappy. Therefore, he gave a very exaggerated bow. This one deserves 10,000 deaths. I ask the king to punish me. You caused a ruckus in the central province. This king saw that there were people speaking up for you. Furthermore, you did make contributions in the Thunder province and the Azure province, so this king will not bicker with you. The Southern Summer King glared at Chu Tian with a face filled with rage, but you received this king's royal proclamation and deliberately delayed entering Imperial City, treating the royal proclamation as a joke. After arriving at King City, you didn't come to see me immediately. You're treating me like a child. You heavily injured the young master of the Wang family. You're treating the laws of the capital like child's play. Tell me, do you deserve to die? Ku. Jiyu Chenqiu gave a few coughs before standing up. My king, there must be many misunderstandings in this matter. Let's listen to Chu Tian's explanation first. Explain, my ass. The Burning Sun ruler's temper was very violent. Even if the king doesn't find trouble with him, this ruler wants to ask you. You incited the family's descendants to fight against the family and heavily injured a senior elder of the family. How will you explain this to this ruler? This old man. Chu Tian looked at the Burning Sun ruler. That matter has nothing to do with Nangong Yun, it was all done by me. Nangong Ji has the ambition of a wolf, wanting to gain something for nothing and taking away the entire miracle commerce. This is truly an idiot's dream. Nonsense. The Burning Sun ruler stood up from his throne and a hot aura filled the hall. Nangongji clearly gave generous conditions. How could he gain something for nothing? Generous conditions? Ha. Chu Tian did not pretend to be humble. He stuck out his chest and raised his head, looking straight at the Burning Sun ruler. In my eyes, miracle commerce is worth more than the Nangong family. I want to ask the Burning Sun ruler, if you give the Nangong family to me now, I'll make you a small branch chairman of miracle commerce in 10 years. Are you willing to do that? Impudent. The Burning Sun ruler clenched his fists and flames soared into the sky. Like a fierce tiger descending a mountain, he charged at Chu Tian. Everyone look. Chu Tian innocently waved his hand and quickly said, in this kind of situation, whether it's the high and mighty Burning Sun ruler or someone as small and insignificant as me, they would all have the same reaction. The Burning Sun ruler was about to go crazy with rage. You really think I don't dare make a move against you? This is the royal palace. The calm martial ruler coldly said, does the Burning Sun ruler not understand the rules? The Burning Sun ruler gritted his teeth. No matter what, the Nangong family's people will be managed by my Nangong family. Let Nangong Yun come back herself. What if I'm not willing? You. The refined ruler suddenly said, the family's internal matters are not something my king can interfere with. Aren't you being too overbearing? Of course I don't care about your family's matters. Nangong Yun is a member of commerce and has a contract with the company. When Chu Tian said this, his voice suddenly changed. How about this? You can let her go if you want, but the Nangong family will first pay the penalty fee. It won't be much, but it will be several 100 billion gold coins. Several 100 billion gold coins penalty fee? The Burning Sun ruler almost spat out a mouthful of blood. The Southern Summer King knit his brows. All right, we're not here today to talk about these trivial matters. Your Nangong family's matters can be resolved in private. This is the royal court. The Burning Sun ruler could only sit down with clenched teeth. This brat. Jiyu Chenqiu broke out in a cold sweat. Chu Tian really did not care about his life, deliberately angering the Burning Sun ruler. The Burning Sun ruler's old face was completely red, but he knew that with the calm martial ruler and the great scholar protecting him, being angry was useless, so he could only suppress it for now. The Southern Summer King coldly said, what do you want to say? Chu Tian continued to explain, there is no way to explain the delay. The royal proclamation only asked for us to reach Imperial City as soon as possible, but it did not specify a specific time. On the way to Imperial City, I encountered a bit of trouble, so I was delayed. A minister stood up. What a glib tongue. If everyone was like you, wouldn't Southern Shia's laws be useless? That's right. Do you dare clearly explain what happened on the road and let everyone see if this is a reason to defy orders? If it isn't, then you are looking down on my king. A general in purple armor stood up. Also, the matter of you beating up Wang Yuan, my Wang family still hasn't settled the score with you. Chu Tian looked at the other side and was filled with joy. I won't mention the matter of beating that bastard Wang Yuan for now. As for the matter of me being delayed, no one can testify for me, but General Wang Tu can. What did you say? This purple-armored general was not someone else, it was actually Wang Tu from the Scarlet Blood Temple. This little one has to start from Central State. Chu Tian cleared his throat and said, after this little one received the royal proclamation, I did not stop and did not stop, quickly heading to the imperial region. Who would have thought that when I passed the Kang state border and was about to enter the imperial region, I would suddenly learn of a tragic murder case. Several villages on the Kang state border were massacred and tens of thousands of innocent civilians died. This little one is a commoner, but I am willing to stand against injustice. With such a tragic murder case, how could I turn a blind eye to it? This little one led my followers to investigate and finally found the true culprits. They were a group of demonic cultivators. When I found them and killed them, I thought this matter was over and prepared to continue on my way to Imperial City. Who would have thought that I would find a shocking secret in their belongings? These people were the remnants of the Tianmo cult from the past. They were preparing to go to a secret headquarters left behind by the Tianmo cult to revive one of the Tianmo cult's head venerables. With these words, the Southern Summer King and the three rulers' expressions changed. Wang Tu's face turned dark as if he had already thought of something. Chu Tian described everything that happened after he risked his life to hide beside the Heavenly Demon Church's church master, how he finally entered the Divine Temple, and what happened after that. He described it vividly, full of twists and turns, and full of suspense. Of course, for the sake of the story, he purposely made many changes. General Wang Tu, I want to ask you. Chu Tian coldly stared at Wang Tu and said, you clearly knew that the Scarlet Blood Temple had appeared and that the evil Scarlet Bloodhead Venerables could be revived, so why didn't you report this matter to His Majesty? I'll answer it for you. Chu Tian's words were sharp, you did not place the king in your eyes at all. For your own selfish gain, you abandoned righteousness and responsibility. The Tianmo cult massacred the villages, only caring about searching for treasures in the Scarlet Blood Temple. In order to enrich your own pockets, you did not hesitate to bring the kingdom into a disaster and even personally pushed the kingdom into the abyss of destruction. Such a sinister heart cannot be tolerated by the heavens and earth. Also, you actually allied with the Warhounds tribe. Could it be that you even forgot how the Great Summer Royal Clan was destroyed? Betraying your ancestors is the same as betrayal. If there is someone that must be killed in the royal court, you should be in front of me. Wang Tu almost spat out blood. What a heart attack, what nonsense. Heart attack. Not saving the citizens is heartless to the world, hiding it from my king is disloyal to the kingdom, allying with the Warhounds tribe is unfilial to your ancestors, causing a disaster and escaping is unjust. Chu Tian pointed at Wang Tu's nose and scolded him in front of countless people. You heartless, unfilial, and unjust person, I am simply ashamed to stand with you in the royal court. This bastard, this damn bastard. This fellow took a large amount of the Scarlet Blood Temple's treasures and even caused the death of his most important mount. Now Wang Tu did not even have time to attack and was bitten back by Chu Tian. Chu Tian gave a cold laugh. With a coward like you, you still want to fight with me? In terms of eloquence, the only person in the royal court that could compete with him was Jiyu Qianqiu, who had traveled around the various countries in the past, but Jiyu Qianqiu was standing on Chu Tian's side. So, Chu Tian's mouth was like a barrage of cannons that made them dizzy, but they could not find any words to refute him. There's also you, Burning Sun Ruler. Chu Tian angrily pointed his spear at the Burning Sun Ruler. You really are muddle-headed, not even managing your own minister properly and almost causing a disaster. If it wasn't for this little one's luck being good and killing that Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate, once he recovered his strength, even you three rulers would not be a match for him. At that time, there was the Warhounds Plains and the Tianmo cult's revival. You are the sinner that destroyed Southern Xia. When the Southern Summer King heard this, his face turned incomparably pale. Burning Sun Ruler, Wang Tu, how do you explain this? The Burning Sun Ruler was stunned. This ruler does not know. I have to go back and ask Zhuo Yang. The Southern Summer King gave a snort, already feeling very dissatisfied. The veins on Wang Tu's forehead popped out as he angrily refuted, My king, this subordinate is wronged. This subordinate has a selfish heart and naturally deserves to die, but the Scarlet Blood Head Venerate was personally released by this fellow. The Southern Summer King looked at Chu Tian. How do you explain releasing the Head Venerate? I released the Scarlet Blood Head Venerate to eliminate future troubles. Chu Tian said in a righteous voice. How could there be any other way? Wang Tu was prepared to fight to the death with Chu Tian. Who knows if the Scarlet Blood Head Venerate is dead or not? You're so weak. How could you kill the Head Venerate? Everyone's hearts turned cold. The three rulers knit their brows. That's right. This was only a one-sided story from beginning to end. Chu Tian said he killed the Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate, but was the Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate dead or not? If the Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate escaped, it would be a large problem for Southern Xia. Quang Dang. A bright red chalice was thrown onto the ground. This is the Scarlet Blood Sacred Object, the Blood Chalice. Chu Tian loudly said, this is the Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate's most important soul-contracting weapon and has followed the Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate for several decades. Now, this item no longer has an owner. The Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate's spirit has already been eliminated, so he is dead without a doubt. Everyone was in an uproar. Chu Tian had actually killed a Tianmo cult head venerate. If this was spread from the royal court, it would be a large piece of news that would shake the entire southern summer country. Your Majesty. Jiyu Chenqiu seized this chance to stand out. This old man believes that not only is Chu Tian not guilty, he has even saved the country. In an instant, the royal court was filled with Jiyu Chenqiu's disciples shouting out. Chu Tian has saved the country. Chu Tian has saved the country. Jiyu Chenqiu's voice changed. On the contrary, Wang Tu's selfishness has harmed the country, even working with the war hounds in the Scarlet Blood Temple. This kind of action has gone against the bottom line, so I believe he must be heavily punished. If Your Majesty does not give out rewards and punishments, how can we face the world? Heavily punish Wang Tu. Heavily punish. That group of people shouted out again. Chu Tian also complained. The Wang family's young master, Wang Yuan, tried to forcefully take Meng Yingying, forcing her to marry in front of countless people. He even spoke rudely to Miracle Commerce's vice-chairman, Meng Qingwu. In my opinion, the Wang family is arrogant because of their achievements, simply lawless. They are the ones who are looking down on the kingdom's laws. This little one is guilty and is willing to be punished, but if I am the only one to be punished, my king will not be fair. The Southern Summer King felt like his head was about to explode when he saw this. Wang Tu was also caught off guard by this series of attacks. Damn, I am the victim. I didn't get a single thing from the Scarlet Blood Temple and even my mount was killed. Who can I find to complain to? Now I am being insulted by this thief. This is not good. The Southern Summer King wanted to give Chu Tian a show of strength and destroy Chu Tian's prestige, but it had developed like this. He couldn't just reward Chu Tian, right? This person had offended his superiors several times, so if he was rewarded, it would damage the king's dignity. Calm martial ruler, what do you think about this matter? This ruler thinks that Chu Tian has merits and demerits, but his merits are greater than his demerits. The calm martial ruler said this and paused for a bit. Everything in the Scarlet Blood Temple will belong to him, just treat it as a reward. Good. The Southern Summer King was very satisfied with this method. Chu Tian almost spat out blood from anger. Damn, calm martial ruler, whose side are you on? Those things are mine, do you want me to hand them over? It's fine if you don't make me a marquis, but you should at least give me a few billion. Wang Tu's selfishness has harmed the country. He will be fined 10 years of salary and will be sent back to reflect on his mistakes. We'll stop here for today, court is dismissed. After the Southern Summer King said this, he did not give anyone any time to object as he waved his sleeve and left. Chapter 292. Everyone sent the Southern Summer King off in a loud voice. 10 years of salary? This was considered a punishment. The Wang family had been around for several hundred years and they still relied on a bit of salary to survive. They could really go hang themselves. Chu Tian was clearly not satisfied with this result, but Chu Tian could not say anything. It was just a trivial Wang Tu. Chu Tian did not place him in his eyes at all. Wang Tu looked at Chu Tian with eyes filled with hatred. You better be careful when you walk in the future. You're threatening me. Chu Tian's eyes popped out as he shouted in an exaggerated manner in the royal palace, "What should I do? The respected winged dragon general of the warhounds wants to deal with a small merchant like me. What are you afraid of?" An old voice came from behind him, "Without a dragon, what kind of winged dragon general is he? At most he's a clown jumping around on the ground." A white-haired old man walked over. It was none other than Jiyu Qianqiu. Wang Tu's eyes turned cold. The Wang family has no grudges with the great scholar. That was before, but now there is. Jiyu Qianqiu's beard trembled as he looked at Wang Tu. "You should be careful when you walk in the future. It's best if you don't bump into this old man on the street. I'm old and my eyes aren't good. If I cripple you as a thief, I won't be able to explain myself to the Southern Summer King. Wait and see." Wang Tu angrily walked away. A wise man did not fight when the odds were against him. A single Chu Tian's mouth was powerful enough. If Jiyu Qianqiu was added in, he would be so angry that he would spit out his lungs. "The great scholar seems much younger after not seeing you for a long time. Don't call me great scholar, this old man cannot accept it." Jiyu Qianqiu was very respectful in front of Chu Tian like an apprentice. Perhaps even in front of the Southern Summer King, Jiyu Qianqiu would not be this respectful. "Let me introduce you. These are all colleagues, but they are all scholars, so they all have the title of scholar." Chu Tian's eyes swept over the 7-8 scholars beside Chu Tian. Each one of them was old and should be very knowledgeable. Since they could come to court, it meant their backgrounds were not simple. This is the Academy's executive elder, Zhao Pu. The Imperial Academy was the highest school in the southern summer country. For this person to be able to manage the academy, he was not a normal person. His ability should not be inferior to Central State's Yun Tianhe. In the main hall, this old scholar had helped Chu Tian quite a bit. Chu Tian immediately cupped his hands. "Greetings, Elder Zhao." "Hey, you can't. Zhao Pu hurriedly took a step back and cupped his hands towards Chu Tian. His expression was one of extreme fear as he said, "You and I are both scholars. We are of the same rank. Furthermore, Sir Chu Tian's talent is world-shaking. How can this old man accept it? These old fogies are too boring." Chu Tian asked Jiyu Qianqiu, "What are you doing?" Jiyu Qianqiu smiled and said, "These old friends of mine are all top talents in southern Xia. Although this is the first time they have met chairman, they admire your talent, so they hope to officially join Miracle Commerce." The old man led by Zhao Pu nodded, "That's right. This was a good thing. How could Chu Tian reject it? Miracle Commerce is divided into the Chu sect and the Yun sect. The Chu sect is my personal strength and retainer group and the Yun sect is Miracle Commerce's research organization." Chu Tian said to them, "You will enter the Chu sect as envoys and work in the Yun sect as researchers. What does everyone think?" Good. Of course we're willing. Working under Miracle Commerce is our old man's fortune. These old men were hard to chew bones normally. Once they went crazy, they would bite whoever they wanted. The nobles did not dare provoke them, but now that they were gathered together by Chu Tian, they were truly a strong force. If anyone dared to provoke Chu Tian in the future, they would have to be prepared to fight with these scholars. Jiyu Qianqiu was very happy with this result. The chairman has already been appointed as a scholar, but the ceremony has not been carried out yet. I know you don't like these complicated things, so I'll simplify it as much as possible. You should go to the Learning Palace first, otherwise people will gossip about you in the future. All right. Chu Tian followed the scholars to the Imperial City's Learning Palace. The great scholar personally gave Chu Tian the scholar's robe and Chu Tian was now a true scholar. This kind of identity was common on the continent. Even if he left southern Xia in the future or went to a foreign race's territory, this identity would still be useful. I'll invite everyone to Miracle Commerce for a drink. Good. The old men happily left the royal palace. When everyone arrived in front of the Miracle Commerce gates, they were stunned. They saw that the Miracle Commerce was surrounded by a group of red-armored soldiers. Chu Tian's brows jumped up. What is going on here? Something has happened. Jiyu Qianqiu said with a calm expression, this is the Nangong family's army. Several thousand Nangong family soldiers surrounded Miracle Commerce, and several senior Nangong family elders were loudly shouting, "Nangongyun, I'll give you 1 minute. Come out yourself and return to the family to accept your punishment, otherwise we will attack." Ha! 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 The several thousand Nangong family soldiers shouted out in unison. The Nangong family was the most important general family in southern Xia. Of the elite soldiers fighting the war hounds on the front lines, most of them came from the Nangong family, so their aura was naturally very terrifying. Miracle Commerce clearly did not dare touch them, so they tightly closed the gates. No matter how the Nangong family shouted, they did not respond at all. Damn! Chu Tian flew into a rage. Today they dare to bully me, Chu Tian. If I don't teach them a lesson, wouldn't they send troops to attack tomorrow? Jiyu Chenqiu led the group of old men forward. What are you doing? This is Imperial City. You're surrounded by troops. Do you have any laws? When the Nangong family saw Chu Tian, Jiyu Chenqiu, and the large group of old scholars, their hearts filled with fear. Jiyu Chenqiu's group of old fellows was a famous group of mad dogs in Imperial City. These old dogs would bite whoever they wanted. They did not have any power in their hands, but they could stir up the world. Normal people would not provoke them for no reason. Not to mention the fact that Chu Tian was a battle maniac among mad dogs. 2 months ago in Central State, he even dared to humiliate the Western Marquis. It would not be strange for him to do something like this today. With Chu Tian's alliance and leadership, this was like adding wings to a tiger. "You, what are you doing?" A senior elder from the Nangong family came forward. "Our Nangong family wants to bring back our descendant. What can you do about it?" Everyone listen. Is there still justice in this world? Jiyu Chenqiu raised his hand and countless people surrounded him. Nangongyun is the only person in southern Xia with a god-level source spirit, but because of the jealousy of some people in the family, she was exiled to a small ancient city 10 years ago when she was only 9 years old. This caused her cultivation to slow down in these 10 years. A super genius that could have become a pillar of southern Xia was almost killed because of this. Everyone was shocked. God-level source spirit? Is this true or false? How come I never heard of this? Jiyu Chenqiu continued to say, Nangongyun was very lucky. Because she met Miracle Commerce's chairman Chu Tian, she obtained Chu Tian's special training. In just a short 5 months, her cultivation jumped from the body refinement realm to the 5th awakened soul layer. Everyone couldn't help being shocked. This speed was too fast. Because of Nangongyun's fast growth, it has caused some people in the Nangong family to worry. So now they want to bring her back. Do you think that once Nangongyun is brought back, will she still have a path of survival? Jiyu Chenqiu angrily roared out, "This is not just a southern Xia genius, it is also a peak pillar of southern Xia that has the potential to be comparable to the 3 rulers. Do you think we can hand her over? We can't. We can't." Everyone began to shout out. The Nangong family members were filled with rage. "Don't speak nonsense and mislead people." Zhao Piyu also helped out. "Nangong family fellows, listen up. If you want to take her, you'll have to do it over the corpses of us old fellows, otherwise you can forget about taking a single step through this door. Isn't it just the Nangong family? This old man will fight with you. That's right, even if I die, I'll splash my blood on you." These old scholars seemed like they had been injected with chicken blood. When the Nangong family saw this, their faces turned pale. Frankly speaking, they did not dare move against Jiyu Chenqiu's group of mad old dogs. "What are you saying so much nonsense for?" Chu Tian charged over and punched an officer. "Beat them." Jiyu Chenqiu roared out, "Beat them. Fuck. You really dare to beat them? Damn, beat them." The Nangong family elders and the old scholars began to fight. However, Jiyu Chenqiu's battle strength was shocking. In just a moment, he had knocked over half of the Nangong family elders. The normal soldiers of the Nangong family were all flustered, but they did not dare act rashly. Because without orders, they did not dare fight back. "Retreat, retreat. Go back and ask the Burning Sun ruler." The Nangong family quickly retreated in a sorry state, leaving behind stunned onlookers. This was the famous Central State Chu Tian. He truly lived up to his name. He was so fierce that it made people's hairs stand on end. One of the three great families of the kingdom, the Nangong family, was actually chased away by someone on the streets. This had never happened in Imperial City in the past few decades or even hundreds of years. This news quickly spread to the Burning Sun ruler's palace. What? The Burning Sun ruler smashed his beloved jade cup and the elders all kneeled down in fear. They knew the Burning Sun ruler's fiery personality and Chu Tian's actions today were too vile. It would have a negative impact on the Nangong family's reputation. If it was the Burning Sun ruler's style, he would have personally gone to give them a tooth for a tooth. That brat actually recruited all of those mad dogs. After the Burning Sun ruler became angry, he quickly calmed down. He suppressed his anger and returned to his seat. This matter had become troublesome. Although those old mad dogs do not have any power, they cannot be easily moved against, especially that old thing Jiyu Chencho. A senior elder said, "Ruler, could it be that if you personally make a move, you still can't solve it? This ruler is not afraid of Jiyu Chencho. At worst I will just be scolded by him. Other than this bit of skill, those old mad dogs do not have anything to fear." The Burning Sun ruler said this and his brows slightly knit together, but once this ruler makes a move, the calm martial ruler will not sit still. The calm martial ruler was also on Chu Tian's side. The group of elders of the Nangong family immediately became silent. Regarding the calm martial ruler and Chu Tian's deal, everything was a top secret. Other than Jiyu Chencho and the Southern Summer King, there were not many people in Southern Xia that knew about it. The Burning Sun ruler was not clear about it. He only knew that Chu Tian's relationship was not as simple as it looked. In the past, the calm martial ruler had protected Chu Tian and did not hesitate to fall out with the refined ruler. An elder carefully asked, "Ruler, since Chu Tian is hard to deal with, why not ally with others? For example, the refined ruler." "Shut up." The Burning Sun ruler stared at this elder. "This ruler is upright. Why would I ally with that old poisonous snake? Although we all have enmity with Chu Tian, he is him and I am me. The boundaries are clear. You are not allowed to mention this matter again." Yes. The Nangong family elders all had looks of disappointment. Of the three rulers, the calm martial ruler had the Dongfang family behind him, so he was the strongest. It was hard for the Burning Sun ruler and the refined ruler to fight him alone, so they could only win if they worked together. The Burning Sun ruler was not willing to work with the refined ruler, so what could they do? This Nangong Yun could only be caught slowly. Chapter 293. If the Burning Sun ruler was a ferocious tiger, then the refined ruler was a cold and sinister poisonous snake. Sometimes a poisonous snake was more deadly than a tiger. As for the others, like the Wang family, Chu Tian did not place them in his eyes at all. When Nangong Yun knew that Chu Tian had chased away the Nangong family, she was moved to tears. She gave Chu Tian a hug. "Thank you, I really don't want to return to the Nangong family. Only, you've helped me block them, so I'm afraid there will be a large amount of trouble. I've implicated everyone." "What are you saying?" Chu Tian patted his chest in a righteous manner. "As the boss, it is my duty to protect my subordinates. You can relax in miracle commerce." Relax, the Burning Sun ruler will not dare act rashly. Where did Chu Tian's confidence come from? The Meng Qingwu sisters quickly asked Chu Tian about what happened today. Chu Tian truthfully narrated what happened, making everyone speechless. Not only did he offend the Southern Summer King, he had also offended the Burning Sun ruler and the Wang family. He had scolded them in the royal court, but he still came out unscathed. Strange. Meng Qingwu was a bit puzzled. The Southern Summer King has always been strong and your actions today have made him lose face. With the Southern Summer King's personality, how could he let you go so easily? Chu Tian did not find this result strange. Young miss is smart, how could she not understand this logic? Meng Qingwu slightly knit her brows. Let's hear it. First, the Southern Summer King does not have enough reason to punish me. Second, the Southern Summer King is afraid of the calm martial ruler and the great scholar's influence, as well as my role. There is also the third point. He should have found out that I have the value of balancing the power in Imperial City. The first 2 points were still fine. What did the third point mean? Chu Tian carefully explained, "Today in the royal palace, not only did I provoke the Burning Sun ruler, I also ruthlessly taught a lesson to the Wang family. The refined ruler hates me to death. This was all done for the Southern Summer King to see. He wanted to break off relations with them. Moreover, the great scholar and the calm martial ruler support me, so because of my appearance, the imperial city's powers have formed a balance and I am a key point in maintaining this balance. Meng Qingwu was a smart person. When she heard this, she immediately understood. The three rulers under the Southern Summer King had high statuses and large influences. The three rulers had a tacit understanding with each other over the years, so there was no direct conflict between them. Other than the three rulers, there was also the great scholar, the Wang family, and the others. They all had extraordinary influence, always advancing and retreating at the same time. Although the Southern Summer King had a high status, it was hard for him to control these people. Chu Tian's appearance was a point of contradiction, and Royal City might be in a stalemate because of this. They were secretly competing with each other. The Southern Summer King was not involved and was in charge of controlling the situation, so he could control the overall situation. Therefore, for the time being, Chu Tian would not touch him, nor would he put him in an important position. If the calm martial ruler and the great scholar wanted to protect Chu Tian, they had to go through the Southern Summer King. If the refined ruler and the burning sun ruler wanted to suppress Chu Tian, they had to go through the Southern Summer King. Chu Tian was not strong. This position was like pulling a hair and moving the whole body. The sharper the contradiction, the more advantageous it was for the Southern Summer King. This was because both sides needed his help, so how could there not be many benefits? So it's like this. Meng Qingwu revealed a look of shame. I am still lacking compared to you. Hi, what is the young miss saying? It's fine if you don't learn this kind of balance of power. You can't say it like this. Perhaps it will be useful in the future. Please, I am just a businessman. It's fine as long as I make some inventions. I won't establish a country. What is the young miss thinking? Chu Tian said this and suddenly changed the topic. What has the company done recently? Quickly tell me. Meng Qingwu began to report her work. Meng Qingwu was worthy of being Chu Tian's best wife. Oh no, best wife. The tasks that Chu Tian had given to Meng Qingwu, not only had Meng Qingwu excellently completed them, she had even exceeded some of them. The Imperial City Research Facility had already been established. The Imperial City Weapon Factory had also been completed. Miracle Commerce had already completed a series of acquisitions in Imperial City and all kinds of products were on the right path. Other than that, there was good news from the Central State Research Facility. The Source Energy submachine gun had been successfully improved and the Central State Weapon Factory could begin producing it first. Meng Qingwu added a point. Our image transferring technology has already matured and we can now steadily transfer and record images. Chu Tian already knew this. There were quite a few places in Imperial City that had image transferring mirrors. Another thing worth mentioning is that Meng Yingying and I have been carefully researching recently and have found a very profitable business method. This was not the first time the two sisters had given Chu Tian pleasant surprises. Oh, what is it? Let Meng Yingying say it. Meng Yingying was holding a pen and paper as if she was recording something. When she saw Chu Tian, she immediately revealed a bright and beautiful smile. Chu Tian, quickly thank me. Thank you. This young miss will make you famous soon. Chu Tian was very surprised. Am I not famous enough? Stop messing around. Meng Qingwu said, don't keep him in suspense, just tell him directly. Meng Yingying excitedly said, my elder sister and I have invented a new technology. We found a kind of illusory image stone and we used the illusory image stone to create an image that was stored in the hidden image mirror, creating a moving image. So what? Stupid, this is a very large business opportunity. Meng Yingying was very excited when she mentioned this. She said in an old voice, now the people of the continent have material comforts, but their minds are empty and they don't have any entertainment. We can combine the hidden image mirror and the illusory image stone and we can turn legendary stories into real movies and TV stories. This is much more interesting than dry storybooks. I have already thought about it. This director's first story will be Scarlet Blood War. It will be about you saving countless villagers and defeating the evil demon's legendary experience. Chu Tian almost spat out a mouthful of water. How did these two sisters come up with this idea? In the era that Chu Tian lived in, virtual spiritual technology had already matured, so real movies and TV did not have any place. Chu Tian did not think of this point, but it was actually the Meng Qingwu sisters who thought of it. It was just like a can of miracles. It did not have any technical content, it just lacked an idea. Meng Yingying looked at Chu Tian with anticipation. What do you think? Very good, very good. Chu Tian's mind quickly turned. We have just established ourselves in Imperial City, so we need to expand our influence. This kind of thing will be very useful in promoting miracle commerce. Meng Yingying nodded. Do you have any requirements? Do your first work well. Don't think about profits and costs, spend as much money as you need. There is only one requirement, my image must be handsome, understand? Meng Yingying rolled her eyes at her. You don't need to worry about profits. Elder sister is a business genius. No matter how much money is invested, she can earn it back double or even more. Chu Tian was a bit skeptical. The production cost of this work was not low. It would be good if they could break even at this stage. Could they really earn it back? Meng Yingying handed the book in her arms to Chu Tian. Here, this is what I heard from elder sister Nangong. It will be used as a blueprint for the story. I'll write a simple outline of the story. What do you think? This was a story of saving, adventure, and fighting. He really couldn't tell that this little girl had a bit of artistic talent. Chu Tian gave a suggestion. I think it would be better if we added a bit of romance. Romance? How? You can set up a female lead image. This female lead is you, Meng Yingying. As for the identity, you can set it as a princess of a country who was captured by the Demon King. In the end, I rescued you, and at the end of the story, you lived happily together. The story of the princess and the Demon King was really old. But in this era, there should still be a market for it. Meng Yingying's face turned red, really shameless. Wouldn't it be shameful if others saw it? How can you think like that? This is art. How could art be shameful? Chu Tian said seriously, if you don't like it, you can change the female lead to a young miss. Or Nangong is also fine. Meng Qingwu's face turned red and she didn't say anything. Nangong Yun laughed. I have no objections. No, no. Elder sister is the leader of the Chamber of Commerce, so she has to maintain a calm and dignified image. Elder sister Nangong is also a strong person. This princess is so weak, how can we let them play the role? Meng Yingying was a bit embarrassed and scratched her head. It seems like I have to sacrifice myself for art. Everyone laughed. Who couldn't guess what this little girl was thinking? Chu Tian suddenly had an idea and thought of a special idea. Weren't the Nangong family and the Wang family very arrogant? This time, let's see how Master Chu Tian will deal with them. Chu Tian said to Meng Yingying, in order to make the story more interesting, I think we need to strengthen the portrayal of a few villains. For example, they discussed for an hour. The production plan was finally finalized. Meng Yingying brought everyone to write the story excitedly. In fact, the cost of making a film like this was not low. This was because the entire production process not only required a large number of people, but also a lot of phantom stones. Phantom stone was a rare material in southern Xia. There were no more than 3 places in the entire southern Xia that produced this kind of ore. The annual production was very limited, so the price would inevitably be higher. After this work was made, it was impossible to recover the cost, or rather, it was impossible to recover the cost for a long time. But it still had to be done. Miracle Commerce had about 600 million gold coins in Imperial City. Now they directly took out 200 million gold coins to invest in Meng Yingying and let her do it without worrying about money. This amount of money was enough to buy back all the phantom stones in the market. Meng Yingying formed a production team of more than 100 people and began to study the production plan. Meng Qingwu used the power of Miracle Commerce and through the radio, media, and other channels, she began to madly spin the bed. Posters of the film and TV series were pasted everywhere. This caused a huge uproar in Imperial City. People had heard of dramas, but they had never heard of a thing like a film or TV series. Meng Qingwu also spent money to buy several large theaters in Imperial City and built a large image transfer mirror screen for each theater. After Meng Yingying's production team finished the work, it would all be displayed and broadcast in these theaters. In an instant, the news spread throughout the entire imperial city. People all became very interested in this. From the common people to the nobles in the palace, everyone paid attention to the progress of the first film and TV series in history. This matter became a topic of conversation before and after tea. In an instant, the new term film and TV series became the newest trend in Imperial City. Chapter 294. Chu Tian had caused a stir on his first day in Imperial City. First he beat up the Wang family's young master, then he fought with the Burning Sun ruler, and finally he brought the great scholars group to chase away the Nangong family. After causing a stir in Imperial City, not only did nothing happen to Chu Tian, he was living a safe and sound life. Not only was miracle commerce not implicated, they were even planning a cinema project, which could be said to have caused an uproar. Everyone finally understood. Chu Tian's ability was not small. Even if he offended the Wang family and the Burning Sun ruler, he could still live without being affected at all. However, Chu Tian didn't go around attracting hatred every day. After fiercely attracting a lot of attention on the first day, he spent most of the following days in secluded cultivation in seclusion. The Scarlet Blood Temple had eaten several hundred high-grade pills at once and he had not completely digested them yet. With such a large amount of energy stored in his body, there would be problems if it was left for too long. Other than that, the alchemy techniques of this era were too rough and in the process of refining the pills, there would be harmful elements. Chu Tian did not want to be troubled by the side effects, so he refined several pills to neutralize the side effects. Several hundred pills were enough to help Chu Tian increase his cultivation. The 1,000 pills in Chu Tian's gourd were enough for Chu Tian to step into the true soul realm in 1-2 months. The little fox's stomach was not big, but there were more than 10,000 pills. If Chu Tian could trick some of them, it would be enough to satisfy the Meng Qingwu sisters, Nangong, Foam Kadi, Yun Yao, and even Yun Xiao, all the core members in the illustrious soul realm. This seemed very exaggerated, but it was not at all. How could the Scarlet Moon, one of the 10 great inheritances of the Tianmo cult, be lacking in resources? An illustrious warring kingdom, even if it was just a branch, at its peak, it would have more than 500,000 official members and 20 to 30 branch leaders, each of them possessing strength comparable to the 8 marquises of southern Xia. It could be said without a doubt that the Scarlet Blood country at its peak was much stronger than the current southern Xia. If the resources left behind by this superpower could not even raise a few true soul realm experts, how could they rise again? But this gave Chu Tian a headache. This little fox was more cunning than a human. How could it be easy to trick it? This fellow was like a miser, not willing to part with even a single cent. Chu Tian tried every possible way to coax it, but to no avail. In the end, he could only promise it interest before it reluctantly lent a small portion to its master. Chu Tian was naturally furious. Damn it, I'm your master. How dare you lend money to your master? Moreover, it's a high-interest loan. This kind of behavior is too bad for a pet. Aren't pets the owner's private property? Borrow your head. If it wasn't for the fact that you still have a lot of resources in your stomach that haven't been spat out, so I can't fall out with you right now, I would have smashed your butt. Just like this. Chu Tian safely spent half a month in Imperial City. He closed himself up all day, wholeheartedly cultivating, searching for a breakthrough. Chu Tian's cultivation speed was very clear. Half a month was not a long time, but he had smoothly broken through twice, reaching the 6th awakened soul layer. Nangong Yun had also smoothly broken through to the 6th awakened soul layer. Meng Qingwu and Meng Yingying's progress was a bit slower, but they were already experts at the peak 5th awakened soul layer. What made Chu Tian especially surprised was that after obtaining the blood chalice, the corpse refining speed increased by leaps and bounds. The 18 divine blood yin corpses continued to digest the divine blood, becoming stronger and stronger. Now their strength far surpassed Chu Tian's, breaking through to the 7th awakened soul layer and reaching the peak 7th awakened soul layer. This meant that Miracle Commerce had 18 strong true soul realm bodyguard. Chu Tian couldn't help sighing at the strength of a spiritual god. Every time they refined the corpses, They only used a drop or two of the divine blood to dilute it and then used it to refine 18 yin corpses. These divine blood yin corpses did not even use a few drops of blood, but the effects they obtained were enough to make people pleasantly surprised. Of course, a large part of this was because of the blood chalice. It was the true blood produced by the blood chalice that nourished the yin corpses, allowing the yin corpses to absorb a large amount of energy in a short period of time. But the blood chalice's power was limited. It could not provide an endless supply of true blood to the yin corpses. After the last corpse refining, the blood chalice's true blood had been used up. It was not hard for the blood chalice to condense true blood. It just needed to buy a large amount of high-level demon beast blood and let the blood chalice absorb it to produce true blood. This time period was as short as half a month and as long as a month, so it could not be rushed. Anyway, with the divine blood yin corpse's current strength, it was enough for miracle commerce to use. These 18 absolutely loyal and powerful guards, no matter where they were in southern Xia, they could form a powerful force that other powers could not look down on. While Chu Tian was busy inspecting the yin corpses. Chu Tian, are you there? At this time, Meng Yingying anxiously rushed in. Good news, our Scarlet Blood War has been completed. What? It was done already? Chu Tian thought it would take at least a month or two, but it was done in just half a month. We invested so much, so the materials were quickly bought. With enough materials, of course it would be fast. Elder sister is doing an internal screening. Do you want to come and take a look? Nonsense, of course I want to come and take a look. This cinema project was something that Chu Tian placed a lot of importance on. Not to mention that this was the result of Yingying's several days and nights of hard work. In order to create this story, she had hired an entire team of over 100 people, planning the scenes and plots every day. She had put in a lot of effort, so how could he not support her? Meng Qingwu had set up a private theater in the headquarters. This was a private theater for miracle commerce. The entire space could sit 500 people and there was an incomparably large square mirror hanging in front of them. Of course it was not a normal mirror, rather it was an image-transferring mirror made by Miracle Commerce that had the ability to transfer images. There were a few internal members of Miracle Commerce sitting in the large screening room. When they saw Chu Tian arrive, Nan Gongyun impatiently stood up. Boss, why did you come so late? We were all waiting for you, didn't you know? Sorry. Chu Tian gave a laugh. Can we begin? Meng Qingwu immediately made a gesture and a staff member took out a brick-like crystal. This was made from high-density hidden image stone crystals and could store a large amount of moving images, so it could be used to create a movie. Meng Qingwu named it the video disc. Let's begin. The Miracle Commerce staff walked in front of the small magnetic image tower and immediately placed the video disc into the source energy array. It was powered by the source energy battery and didn't need to be manually controlled, so when the video disc was placed into the source energy array, the giant image transferring mirror hanging in the air lit up. It's appeared. Several girls excitedly cried out. Even the usually calm Meng Qingwu couldn't hide the pride on her face at this moment. Images began to appear in the huge mirror. The first thing that appeared was a sharp eagle's eye. No one had ever seen an eagle's eye at such a close distance. The eyes were sharp and deep, reflecting the rivers and the earth. The entire image began to zoom out. This was the scene of an eagle diving down to the earth. A loud and clear eagle cry came from the speakers all around. It was sharp and clear, giving off a three-dimensional feeling, making people feel very shocked. This dubbing was already done and it was stored in the magnetic sound disk before being sent out through the speakers. As long as it was played at the same time, normal people wouldn't be able to see any flaws. When the eagle dived down, it was visually shocking as it passed through the vast mountains and rivers, finally landing in front of an ancient castle. Inside this magnificent castle, there was a kind of desolate and ancient solemnity. There were tens of thousands of cultivators lined up, all of them being the cultivator disciples of a top-grade sect. A low voice began to speak. 300 years ago, an evil demonic sect called the Scarlet Blood Sect rose in the kingdom. They were cruel, tyrannical, and overbearing, killing people like grass. In order to cultivate a demonic art, they treated all living beings as grass. The scene instantly changed. Countless demonic cultivators built blood ponds and cruelly collected blood essence. The pitiful cries of the victims made people's expressions change. In the end, the Scarlet Blood religion's evil deeds caused the entire world to be angered, leading to a war. This scene turned into a battlefield. The speakers around them released the sounds of killing as tens of thousands of cultivators fought on the battlefield. In the end, after a bitter battle, the Scarlet Blood religion's main force was completely annihilated and this evil demonic cultivator disappeared from the kingdom. However, were they really completely annihilated? No one knew that when the Scarlet Blood sect's leader was about to be destroyed, he left behind a treasure that could make people go crazy, preparing for the rise of the Scarlet Blood sect. This was a foreshadowing. The story had not even begun, but there was already suspense. This story was based on Chu Tian destroying the Scarlet Blood Temple. But in order to make the story more independent, there were many changes to the content. The Scarlet Blood sect was a branch of the Tianmo cult, but now it was an independent sect. Chu Tian's identity became a wandering sword cultivator and he also added the identity of the Meng Yingying princess. The male and female protagonists accidentally fell in love, but their statuses were different and they encountered many difficulties. The Scarlet Blood demon needed to collect 1,000 young girls as sacrifices to revive. In the end, they accidentally took the princess away. The main character went to the Scarlet Swamp alone with a sword, setting foot on the old plot of saving the princess. Not only did it refer to what had happened, for example Chu Tian joining the Scarlet Blood sect as a spy, it also added a series of artistic plots. In short, the entire process was incomparably complicated. It was especially worth mentioning. Meng Yingying added Wang Tu, Zhuoyang, and the War Hounds tribe into the story. Of course, according to Chu Tian's request, it was viciously vilified. Wang Tu and Zhuoyang were despicable treasure hunters who did not hesitate to pay any price to obtain the Scarlet Blood sect's treasure. They sacrificed the kingdom's benefits, not hesitating to use the commoners as bait, and even colluded with the War Hounds tribe. This story's ending was very perfect. After the main character defeated the resurrected Scarlet Blood sect's leader, he happily lived in seclusion with the princess. Chu Tian stood up and applauded, "Good, this is too good. I never thought that Miracle Cinema's first production would be this outstanding, it far surpassed my expectations." This was not a compliment or comfort. This Battle of the Scarlet Moon was indeed outstanding. The entire production was 100 minutes long, interspersed with adventure, love, treasure hunting, responsibility, honor. All sorts of elements, the entire plot was perfectly linked. This could only be done with a very deep foundation and it was hard for people to believe that it was actually directed by Meng Yingying. Other than that, the entire production was filled with soft advertisements for miracle commerce. For example, the electric light, the phonograph, the source energy pot, the miracle canned food, and etc. This was a very powerful advertising method. Meng Yingying said with a proud face, "Of course, don't you know who the director is? I specially invited all the famous masters of Imperial City, letting everyone participate in the screenwriting and assisting the director. It was no wonder. This production is impeccable." Meng Qingwu said, "I think it's time to put it in the theater and let the citizens of Imperial City experience it. How much is the price for watching it?" "I think it should be 20 gold coins." Chu Tian was stunned. This cheap? This production was worth close to 200 million gold coins, but Chu Tian did not care too much about it. It wasn't like he wanted to make money. Meng Qingwu confidently said, "Relax, not only will we not lose money this time, we will even make a large profit." Chapter 295. Miracle Commerce had a total of 4 large theaters. Each theater had an average of 10 theaters and each theater could hold 400 to 500 people. Since it was going to be broadcasted, there was no lack of preparations. First was the problem of ticket prices. Miracle Commerce had shown their sincerity. Chairman Chu Tian announced that they would make the theaters more popular than the brothels. Not only did they have to attract both men and women, young and old, they had to make it so that everyone could look up to them. Therefore, each normal ticket only cost 20 gold coins. The VIP seats would be auctioned off with a starting price of 100 gold coins. People simply did not dare believe it. Was Miracle Commerce doing charity? This was too inconceivable. The songs and dances in Imperial City's theaters, as long as they were of a higher class, would cost more than this. Was this bit of money to the nobles living in Imperial City? It might not even be enough to send away beggars. This kind of price could be easily afforded by the middle and lower class people. And this first movie in history had been built with an investment of 200 million gold coins. Could they recoup the cost by doing this? Judging from the current situation, it was almost an impossible task. When Miracle Commerce continued to announce another piece of news, people finally realized that they had been surprised too early. The theaters had a time limit. Miracle Commerce was currently setting up image transfer mirror equipment in their own restaurants or public places like squares. In other words, after the theater's screening period ended, Miracle Commerce would publicly show the movie. Even the poorest citizens could enjoy the wonderful experience of watching a movie. What did Miracle Commerce want to do? Could it be that they had too much money to burn themselves? To be able to do this kind of thankless task, this was not in line with the nature of a businessman. People naturally discussed this. Some people said that the company did not want to make money from the movie. Each theater provided food and the price was definitely higher than outside. Perhaps they wanted to make money from additional consumption. Some people said that Miracle Commerce did not want to make money from the start. This time, they only wanted to promote the image transfer technology and increase Miracle Commerce's influence in Imperial City. Because the male and female leads in the movie were using themselves, once it was spread, they would become famous and Miracle Commerce would become famous. Everyone had their own opinions and each had their own reasons. The movie had not yet been officially broadcasted and it had already attracted the eyes of the Imperial City people. When the tickets went on sale on the first day, the scene was naturally a sea of people. More than 20,000 seats were sold out at once, and the price of second-hand tickets increased by 4 to 5 times. The VIP seats that were auctioned off were sold for tens of thousands of gold coins. If that was the case, he could earn more than 1 million gold coins for each broadcast. If he could broadcast 8 or 9 times a day, wouldn't he be able to earn 10 million gold coins a day? If given enough time, theoretically, the cost could be recovered, but in reality, it was impossible. First of all, 20,000 people a day, 600,000 people a month. What kind of concept was this? The total number of people in the royal city who had the habit of going to the theater was probably less than that. After all, the entertainment in this era was very simple, and the development of the arts was not very important. Most of the plays were very monotonous and could not attract many people. With Miracle Commerce's massive advertising, it was already amazing to have a full house for 1 or 2 consecutive days. It was almost impossible to have a full house for a month. Even if it really happened, the cinema had a limited screening period, completely locking in the upper limit of revenue growth. No matter how one looked at it, this was a 100% loss business. Is it to stimulate incidental consumption? Was he spending money to gain applause? Or did he have other intentions? Out of curiosity, people paid more attention to the movie itself. What kind of thing was this? This is bad, this is bad. Meng Yingying anxiously ran back to the headquarters as her white cheeks revealed a cute blush. Our largest theater has already been reserved by the royal palace. Chu Tian was stunned hearing this. What happened? I just received the royal proclamation from the royal palace. Meng Yingying presented the royal proclamation to Chu Tian. The Southern Summer King wants to personally come to the theater and wants to reserve the entire theater for 10 times the price, but we have already sold the ticket. Nangong Yun was very angry. The Southern Summer King wants to reserve the entire theater for himself. Isn't this a bit too overbearing? The Southern Summer King has invited several concubines, the 3 rulers, and the core members of the various large families to watch the movie. There are several hundred people like this and they are all noble characters. Reserve the entire theater for 10 times the price? This seemed rich and overbearing, but it didn't count for anything. Miracle Commerce's largest theater had over 800 seats and a normal seat cost 20 gold coins. How much money could 10 times the price be worth? Would Miracle Commerce lack this bit of money? Everyone doesn't need to worry, this is a good thing. Meng Qingwu was not troubled by this and instead said in a pleasantly surprised voice, "These nobles are all rich and overbearing. You reserve the theater today and they reserve the theater tomorrow, there will be no end to it. The king will reserve the entire theater and invite everyone, cutting off the possibility of this happening in the future. We can use this chance to reform and prevent this kind of thing from happening again. There is also the fact that the king has personally come to support us. This is a very good advertising point for us." That was right. This was the so-called celebrity effect. If the king came to watch, why wouldn't they come? If the Southern Summer King liked movies, then it would be a large advertising point for miracle commerce. Chu Tian nodded. It seems like we need to improve the system. Are they not embarrassed to reserve the theater for 10 times the price? If someone wants to reserve the theater in the future, they can directly reserve it for 200 times. Aren't these nobles rich? I'll let them spend as much as they want. This matter caused a small uproar. Those who had already bought tickets had their tickets forcefully refunded, so their hearts were filled with complaints. But Miracle Commerce compensated them with several times the price, and the other side was the Southern Summer King, so they had nothing to say. The first screening was about to begin. Miracle Commerce sent out large amounts of guards to allow people to enter the theater in an orderly manner. At this time, the Southern Summer King brought a group of people to the theater. These people were all invited by the Southern Summer King and they were all famous people, almost making up half of the imperial city nobles. These large characters also brought their children, making a total of 300-400 people, filling up half of the theater. Chu Tian looked around several times, but he did not find anyone from the Wang family. The Wang family was still considered smart. The Wang family definitely knew that this movie was aimed at them, so it would be strange if they didn't die from embarrassment. They were simply asking to be humiliated. The Burning Sun ruler, Nangong Yang, came. After all, he was one of the 3 rulers, so how could he take the initiative to retreat? He wanted to see what kind of tricks this Chu Tian was playing. Chu Tian brought the Miracle Commerce people to greet him. When the Southern Summer King saw Chu Tian, he had a calm attitude, not being cold or warm as he softly said, "Miracle Commerce's inventions are very beneficial to my kingdom, so I hope you can focus your energy on practical matters and not use your intelligence on this kind of entertainment. Do you understand?" "Fuck. I didn't invite you here. You came, but you still have to use a lecturing tone." That's right, that's right." Chu Tian could only give a laugh. "Please have my king's seat." The Southern Summer King sat in the VIP seats. The calm martial ruler, the Burning Sun ruler, and the refined ruler also walked over. The broadcast in the theater was not controlled by Chu Tian, but rather by the Miracle Commerce's magnetic sound tower and magnetic image terminal. This was the same principle as a radio, letting the sound signal and the moving image signal be sent to each theater, so it was played at the same time. The group of old masters hadn't been sitting for long. The huge screen that was 20 meters tall and 40 meters wide immediately lit up, and the movie began to play. Everyone was immediately attracted by the gorgeous opening, followed by the scene of tens of thousands of people fighting on the battlefield. The scene was very realistic and shocking. The Southern Summer King and the 3 rulers were stunned. How on earth was this made? It was so realistic, it was hard to imagine. The others also had the same feeling. This feeling was just too refreshing. In this small theater, one could have a panoramic view of the beautiful scenery and the magnificent scene. He could truly experience an incredible adventure without stepping out of his house. He could even experience a completely imaginary world. When the story was played out in front of their eyes, it made people fascinated and shocked, making them worry about the fate of the main character in the story. This invention was too great. As for the drama, it was simply child's play. It was instantly destroyed without leaving a single dregs. People didn't have the mood or time to compare, because the intense and exciting storyline attracted all the audience's attention. This was made by a team of over 100 people led by Meng Yingying, with each detail being carefully arranged. The adventure, battle, love, and suspense were all very attractive, as well as the cruelty, greed, and shamelessness were all depicted. The male and female leads' faint love made people yearn for it, as if they had returned to their first love. When the female lead was captured by the demon, everyone felt as if their hearts had been stabbed by a knife. Pa, pa, pa. The sound of cups being smashed could be heard. They all gritted their teeth in hatred, simply wanting to personally kill their way in and cut that scarlet blood demon into pieces. The main character's shocking adventure, as well as the suspense of being a spy, made everyone break out in a cold sweat. Finally, the Scarlet Blood sect's leader activated a destructive trap before his death. The main character threw the female lead out, but he was buried in the bottomless swamp. When they saw this, a few emotional women began to cry. When everyone thought the main character was dead, the main character used a treasure on his body to luckily escape. Finally, he lived in seclusion with the princess, living a normal and happy life. This was an old story in Chu Tian's eyes. But in the eyes of the people of this era, it was a climax filled with suspense. When the final scene ended, everyone stood up and applauded. The Southern Summer King was slightly shocked. This story was too good, this theater was going to be popular. Don't look at how Chu Tian was not making money right now. If this thing was promoted and every city built a theater like this, wouldn't it be amazing? It would definitely be a large profit. The Southern Summer King's eyes sparkled a few times. When he thought of the influence the theater would bring, a light flashed in the Southern Summer King's mind as he suddenly had an idea. Chapter 296. When the lights in the theater gradually lit up, everyone was abnormally excited. The ups and downs of the plot were too wonderful. This kind of super strong visual impact was not something that a dry play could compare to. Whether it was from the heart or the senses, everyone seemed to have received an unprecedented baptism. After watching the whole story, everyone felt abnormally satisfied, as if they had personally experienced this thrilling adventure. However, they felt that it was not enough because they had not completely satisfied yet. That's it. I haven't had enough yet. What about the future of the warrior and the princess together? This is a movie. This is 2F** King satisfying. The Wang family is too despicable. I will definitely break off relations with the Wang family. That's right, there's also Nangong, Pa. Shut up. Do you want to F** King die? These people with poor spiritual lives had never thought of such a wonderful entertainment experience. This was like a top-grade hallucinogen. Once you started using it, you could not quit. These movies would also have some subtle effects on people. For example, the main character was based on Chu Tian, portraying a strong, powerful, and responsible warrior. Now that the real Chu Tian was standing in front of them, people could not help but compare him to the main character in the movie, so they immediately felt much more pleasing to the eye. By the same logic, even though Wang Tu and Zhuo Yang weren't the ultimate villains, they were selfish, insensitive, and even tried to harm the main character multiple times. This caused the others to be extremely furious, and there were even many people who started cursing them on the spot. There were even some who spoke rudely. People were deeply addicted to the movie. They began to worry. What if they could not see more movies in the future? After all, a movie required a lot of investment, and it looked like there would not be any profits in the short term. Chu Tian walked up to the stage with a face full of smiles and said to everyone, "Everyone, the screening has ended. I wonder if everyone is satisfied with it." Chu Tian is too handsome. A beautiful noble girl shouted, "You are now my idol." A young master then shouted, "Are you still going to make this movie? Just one movie is not enough to satisfy me. I like to use the princess. If you are willing to continue, this old man can sponsor it." A white-bearded old man stood up and said, "I will sponsor 10 million gold coins. I'll sponsor 5 million. I'll sponsor 2. The enthusiasm of the people far exceeded Chu Tian's imagination. It was the result that Chu Tian wanted to see. Chu Tian took out a megaphone and shouted, "Everyone, don't be anxious. Miracle Commerce is a conscientious and responsible merchant association. Since we have chosen to start, we will naturally do well and continue. So, don't worry, we will continue to produce movies and dramas to satisfy the spiritual entertainment of the people of Southern Xia." "All right. You are indeed a good young man." The nobles were very satisfied with Chu Tian's answer and were full of praise for Chu Tian. They were finally satisfied as they bid farewell to the Southern Summer King. The Southern Summer King had a thoughtful expression. "What do the three of you think? For miracle commerce to have such technology, it would be a terrifying way to earn money. Looking at it now, charging 20 gold coins for each viewing doesn't seem like a lot, but people have forgotten a problem. With miracle commerce's ambition, would they only promote it in Imperial City? If they built 1 or 2 theaters in each of the 8 states' main cities, their income would increase by 4-5 times, not to mention they would be able to enter each city. The refined ruler said this and looked at the source energy food in front of him, not to mention that the theater would come with other expenses, so the benefits would be hard to imagine. The calm martial ruler gave a soft evaluation. This kind of video recording technology has a good future. It can not only be used for entertainment. That's right. The refined ruler said in a strange voice, Chu Tian is using these movies to brainwash people, creating a glorious and great image of himself, as well as tarnishing his enemies. Today he is talking about the Wang family and the Nangong family's officials, but tomorrow he will even talk about the 3 of us, even the Southern Summer King. The calm martial ruler knit his brows. I'm not talking about this. But he indeed has this kind of skill. The refined ruler said this before suddenly stopping. Burning Sun ruler, what do you think? The refined ruler's thoughts. The burning sun ruler was filled with rage. With his fiery temper, how could he tolerate this kind of thing happening? Who would have thought that the burning sun ruler would be stunned? It took a while for him to react, but he only said 2 words, good, not bad. This movie is a bit interesting, even this old man is a bit fascinated by it. The refined ruler stared at him. Can't you see that Chu Tian is using this chance to humiliate your Nangong family? Zhuo Yang does not represent the Nangong family. The burning sun ruler seemed to become very open at this time. This movie has its own unique points. This ruler feels that it should be properly promoted. Humph. Southern Xia is being oppressed by the Warhounds tribe. How can the people enjoy themselves? The refined ruler was very dissatisfied. Once this movie becomes popular, my Southern Xia people will be bewitched by it and will chase after pleasure. If this goes on, the country will fall. How will we fight against the Warhounds tribe? The refined ruler's words are wrong. The calm martial ruler opened his mouth to say, if this movie can be properly guided, not only will it not lead to an extravagant lifestyle, it will also lead to a loyal and courageous spirit. You guys should stop arguing. The Southern Summer King impatiently said, no matter what, the story is not bad. Since it has appeared, it has its value. However, it cannot be without a bottom line. This king will impose some regulations and will not allow people or families to be tarnished. The refined ruler could not understand what the Southern Summer King was thinking. Didn't this king hate Chu Tian? Now that Chu Tian's influence and power was about to expand, he was actually indifferent to this. This did not match the Southern Summer King's personality. Let this king consider this matter before making a decision. The 3 rulers can leave. After the Southern Summer King sent the 3 rulers away, he said to the guard beside him, have Howren come to the palace to see me. Ah! The guard said in a surprised voice, the prince is in closed-door cultivation. Closed-door cultivation, closed-door cultivation. You only know how to cultivate all day. Even your brain has become stupid. What use is there in having a high cultivation base? The calm martial ruler's cultivation base is higher than this king's, but isn't the one to sit on the throne in the end still this king? The Southern Summer King was a bit dissatisfied. Have him come out. Yes. The Southern Summer King slightly stroked his beard and revealed a pondering look. Howren hated being interrupted in his daily cultivation, so he would definitely teach Chu Tian a lesson this time. This was perfect. He would let Chu Tian taste a bit of suffering. Otherwise, he wouldn't know how high Imperial City was. After the premiere ended, the 4 theaters were filled with excitement. When people left the theaters, the entire Imperial City was filled with excitement. This kind of surging enthusiasm spread like a fire, affecting the entire Imperial City. People were curious and people liked to follow the crowd. Especially the news that the Southern Summer King had brought the 3 rulers and several dozen other large characters to watch the movie produced by Miracle Commerce. This celebrity effect caused a sensation. The effect was like a bucket of oil being poured on this fire. Even the Southern Summer King said it was good, so how could it not be good? The 3 rulers had personally come to watch it, so how could they not watch it? Miracle Commerce's broadcast station spread the news, causing the entire city to be filled with excitement. There were even situations where it was hard to get a ticket. Those VIP seats that were sold through bidding were sold for hundreds of thousands of gold coins each. The theater closed late into the night. There was not a single empty seat in the entire day. That night, Miracle Commerce held an emergency meeting. Meng Yingying listed the results of the day and her mouth almost crooked from smiling. Today we sold over 5-6 million gold coins and spent over 20 million gold coins in the theater. Today's revenue is at least 25 million gold coins. My God, this is 10 times more than we expected. The king booked the theater for 10 times the price, and adding in the nobles watching, it greatly increased the spending, so it is normal for it to be a bit higher. Meng Qingwu did not care about this small profit. Now that Miracle Commerce had enough funds, she was not in a rush to recover the cost. There are too few theaters right now, so I'm prepared to wait for more theaters. We need to build more theaters. Chu Tian expressed his agreement. In truth, it was not important how much money they made right now. The most important thing was that Chu Tian wanted to see this method of entertainment spread and the impact it would have in southern Xia. How about this? We'll make a special batch of souvenirs. Chu Tian thought about it and said, we'll use the discs, magnetic sound discs, phonographs, and light and shadow mirrors to make a special device for playing movies. Chu Tian closed his eyes and thought for a few seconds. We'll call this a video player. The discs recorded live video and the light and shadow mirrors were mirrors that could play the video. Chu Tian wanted to make a special device. This device had the function of a phonograph and could also play the video. Once this device came out, they only needed to insert the discs and magnetic sound discs together and they would be able to play the video normally. Now with the popularity of the Scarlet Blood War, there were many nobles who wanted more and would definitely want to buy a copy for their collection. Those smart merchants would even buy it and bring it to other cities to make a profit. In short, they would be able to expand the influence of Miracle Commerce. This would also be a large source of income for the movies. After they confirmed this idea, they immediately notified Jiyu Chenqiu and had the research facility immediately make it. The 4 technologies were quite mature and they just needed to combine them together. With the research capabilities of the Imperial City Research Facility, this was not a difficult matter at all. Chairman, there is someone outside asking to see you. Who is it? I don't know, but this person has the king's token, so he might be the Southern Summer King's person. The Southern Summer King's person? Then let him come in. Chu Tian was very busy and he was too lazy to see normal people. Since he was sent by the Southern Summer King, he would give the Southern Summer King some face. A person wearing a black cloak walked in. When he saw Chu Tian, he took off his cloak and revealed a chiseled face. His eyes were like stars and he had a dignified appearance. His skin was a bit dark and bronze, and he had a bit of a beard. It seemed like he did not like to maintain his appearance, but he was very young, around 27 or 28 years old. You are Chu Tian? This black-robed young man looked over Chu Tian with an expressionless face as he softly said, I am called Dongfang Haoren. You are Dongfang Haoren? The others were shocked. Chu Tian did not know this Dongfang Haoren, but since he was surnamed Dongfang, he must be from the Dongfang family. Could this Dongfang Haoren be very famous in the Dongfang family? Actually, Chu Tian did not know that Dongfang Haoren was not very famous, rather he was very, very famous. He was a prince and the son most favored by the Southern Summer King, Dongfang Hao. He had a large chance of inheriting the throne in the future. Dongfang Haoren's innate talent was very strong, reaching the 9th awakened soul layer before he was 30 years old. Therefore, he and the Wang family's young master were known as the Imperial City's twin pride. This title was around the same as the Central State 4 young masters, showing the position these two had in the Imperial City's younger generation. No one thought that Dongfang Haoren would personally come. What did he want? Chapter 297. Dongfang Haoren was the most valued prince of the Dongfang family, growing up with a golden spoon in his mouth. First of all, fate had blessed him with an outstanding talent that was not inferior to Central State's Chu Xinghe. With the Dongfang family's deep background, Dongfang Haoren was one of the most important descendants. Dongfang Haoren was only a few years older than Chu Xinghe, but his cultivation base surpassed Chu Xingha's by a large amount. Ninth awakened soul layer. With this kind of strength at such a young age, it made those 70-80-year-old seniors who had been famous for a long time blush with shame. With the full support of the Dongfang family, it would be hard to estimate his future growth. Becoming a true spirit realm expert was a sure thing, and he would be the pillar of the Dongfang family for the next generation. Not only did Dongfang Haoren have an outstanding talent, he was also a famous cultivation maniac in Imperial City. I am Chu Tian. Chu Tian did not care what the other side's identity was. Meng Qingwu knew how strong the prince was and was afraid that the blabbermouth Chu Tian would anger the other side, so she immediately took the initiative to say, "We didn't know the prince was coming and did not welcome you. I hope the prince won't blame us, please come in. You don't have the qualifications to speak to me." Dongfang Haoren coldly said to Meng Qingwu. His eagle-like eyes stared at Chu Tian in front of him. "I don't understand, how could Chu Xinghe lose to a person like you?" Meng Qingwu revealed a trace of embarrassment with her brows slightly knit. In fact, after coming into contact with so many people, there was no lack of unreasonable people. Those people were completely different from the person in front of them. No matter what their attitude was, when they looked at Meng Qingwu, most of them were filled with naked possessiveness. Only this Dongfang Haoren did not place Meng Qingwu in his eyes at all. It was like Meng Qingwu was a wooden doll that did not attract him at all. Dongfang Haoren softly said, "Since you can defeat Chu Xinghe, that means you are not a normal person. Why are you wasting your energy on useless things and wasting your talent on these meaningless things? Fuck." This kind of attitude was too pretentious. Chu Tian looked at the somewhat stiff prince in front of him. He saw that he had a serious expression on his face, without any expression, as if he was looking down on Chu Tian. Dongfang Haoren already knew Central State Chu Xinghe and felt that Chu Xinghe was not weaker than him. Only in comparison, he was older by 4-5 years and his family was stronger, so his cultivation was far above Chu Xinghe's. If Chu Xinghe came to Imperial City in the future, Chu Xinghe would definitely be valued with his abilities. At that time, large amounts of resources would be given to him and Chu Xinghe would quickly be able to compete with him. This was very important to Dongfang Haoren. Other than the Wang family's Wang Tianlong, Dongfang Haoren could not find anyone in the same generation as him. He had high hopes for Chu Xinghe, but who would have thought that Chu Xinghe would be defeated by an upstart? How could this not make Dongfang Haoren feel depressed? Dongfang Haoren did not like Chu Tian's personality. This guy clearly had great talent, but he went to open a merchant association to earn money. He should have been a brilliant cultivator, but he became a powerful businessman, staining himself with the stench of money. "I say, Your Royal Highness," Chu Tian felt strange, "you and I have never had any enmity in the past, so why are you making things difficult for me?" "I'm not trying to make things difficult for you. I just want to warn you that a devout cultivator should focus on cultivation and not engage in some opportunistic business. I advise you to let go of these useless things and grasp your talent and age. It seems like the first prince really doesn't know the suffering of the world." Chu Tian sneered, "I want to know how many precious medicines and elixirs the Dongfang family has used on you since you started cultivating, and how many resources they have used on you." Dongfang Haoren still said woodenly, "Why are you asking this? Do you think everyone is born into the royal family like you? Don't you need money to buy medicine? Buying resources for free? You don't need money to buy cultivation techniques. The family gives you everything as if it's natural. Do you think that everyone is like you, protected and cherished by countless elders? A flower that grows in a greenhouse, no matter how bright it blossoms, can only be kept in a vase. What qualifications do you have to laugh at the weeds that grow in the wilderness?" Dongfang Haoren's face sunk. This was the first time someone had called him a flower in a greenhouse. Dongfang Haoren gave a cold laugh. "You think I'm inferior to you?" Chu Tian shrugged his shoulders. "I didn't say that. If the prince thinks like that, then it's not wrong." Meng Qingwu's brows jumped up. This isn't good. This prince was clearly a one-track-minded person. Now that he was provoked by Chu Tian, it would be strange if he didn't explode. "Good, very good. The Dongfang family's reputation cannot be insulted." Dongfang Haoren's eyes revealed a trace of anger. "Since you said this, You should have considered the consequences. This is Miracle Commerce's headquarters. Meng Qingwu quickly said. Does the prince want to bully the weak? No, I just want to have a fair fight. Dongfang Haoran coldly said, I'll suppress my cultivation base to the same realm as yours to fight you. I want to see just how tenacious the weeds that grow in the cracks of the rocks are. Of course, you can choose not to fight. I won't make it hard for a coward. Who dares challenge boss? Chu Tian didn't even have time to speak before a shout came from the distance. Two figures quickly charged out. It wasn't anyone else, it was Meng Yingying and Nangong Yun. Nangong Yun held a large hammer in her hand, her face filled with ferocity as she walked out. If you want to challenge our boss, you have to defeat me first. You're Nangong Yun. Dongfang Haoran had completely forgotten about coming to find Chu Tian. When he heard about a fight, he became very excited. I heard that you have some skills, I hope you don't disappoint me. Nangong Yun looked over and Chu Tian nodded in confirmation. Then have a taste of this aunt's strength. Nangong Yun fiercely leapt out, and when she took a second step, the entire floor was shattered. She had already burst out at full speed. Eat my hammer first. Such explosive power. Such a strong destructive power. Dongfang Haoran had already suppressed his cultivation base to the same level. He didn't dare be careless in this situation. A purple energy came out of his body and gathered in his hands. Dong. Nangong Yun's hammer slammed down. The purple energy in Dongfang Haoran's hands condensed into a giant hammer that was completely made of energy. It instantly blocked Nangong Yun's hammer and the fierce heat melted the ground around them. The two hammers collided again. An explosion rang out. The ground caved in and the two of them both took several steps back. Nangong Yun suffered a bit more, but Nangong Yun had the diamond body level diamond immortal body, so she didn't fear this bit of impact. Dongfang Haoran's face sank. Nangong Yun, who wasn't famous in Imperial City, actually had this kind of strength. Although Dongfang Haoran had suppressed his cultivation base, Dongfang Haoran was confident that he wouldn't meet a match at the same level. Even if he fought someone a level higher, he still had a chance of winning. Nangong Yun's position in the Nangong family was very low, so her cultivation of the burning the heavens art was not high. Dongfang Haoran was the complete opposite. His position in the Dongfang family was very high and the grand spirit art he cultivated had almost reached the perfection realm. Equal. Although Dongfang Haoran's attack power was a bit stronger, Nangong Yun seemed to have cultivated some kind of protective secret technique, so neither side received any real injuries. Your strength isn't bad. Dongfang Haoran coldly said, but it's only SOSO. Nangong Yun was instantly enraged, raising her large hammer and wildly smashing it down. Dongfang Haoran was very fast and the purple hammer turned into a spear, nimbly circling around Nangong Yun's body. It was like a cunning and ruthless viper that suddenly pounced forward to bite. If you have the skills, then don't dodge. The huge hammer that was surrounded by raging flames suddenly rose up with a golden flame. This flame was completely different from before. When Nangong Yun swung it out, it unexpectedly transformed into a golden fire phoenix in the air. Look at my falling phoenix strike. Under Nangong Yun's full strength, the golden phoenix fell down like a meteor. This was the divine phoenix flame. Nangong Yun had grasped a bit of the great Nirvana Heart Sutra. Dongfang Haoran was keenly aware that the golden flames were very strong and could not be easily blocked. The spear bounced off the ground and he quickly retreated. 100 sparrows rising sun. The moment the golden phoenix fell to the ground, it instantly turned into hundreds of small golden birds that attacked Dongfang Haoran. Grand spirit comes from the east. Dongfang Haoran's spear shot out from his hand. It turned into a purple cloud in midair and blocked the golden birds. At this time, a person charged out from the purple cloud, raising a giant hammer with both hands. Countless golden birds chased after him and condensed into flames on the hammer. Not long after, Nangong Yun's hammer turned into a golden flame hammer. This old lady doesn't believe that I can't smash you to death. Nangong Yun was prepared to make a move, but Chu Tian noticed something. Stop. Dongfang Haoran's body released a purple glow that covered his body, forming a layer of armor. In an instant, Dongfang Haoran turned into a metal knight. His left hand held a shield and his right hand held a sword. This was the Dongfang family's source spirit. This was a source spirit with a transformation effect. According to different situations, the source spirit could change into different weapons. When the giant hammer came crashing down, it slammed into the shield and the shield was shattered to pieces. At the same time, a strong energy bounced back at Nangongyun and blew her away. At the same time, Dongfang Haoren threw out his sword and it hit Nangongyun in midair. This is bad. Meng Yingying and Meng Qingwu's expressions fell and they wanted to go save her. In the end, Nangongyun's body was covered in golden flames and she fell to the ground like a phoenix, igniting her surroundings. When she stood up, the wounds on her body were strangely burning, especially the wound on her abdomen that was stabbed by the sword. Golden flames kept coming out of it. What was even more strange was that these wounds were quickly recovering. Dongfang Haoren was completely stunned. What kind of cultivation technique was this? How could it be this strong? I was too careless. Again. Nangongyun knit her brows. She had consumed most of her spirit energy. The great Nirvana scripture was not only for fighting, it could also heal her injuries, but it consumed too much energy. All right, Nangong, you can leave. Chu Tian personally walked forward. Now, I'll play with you. Chapter 298. The Dongfang family's armament spirit was a very special and rare source spirit. It did not have a fixed form, but it could turn into various armors and weapons. This also meant that the Dongfang family's soldiers could adapt to any kind of battle. Spear techniques, sword techniques, and saber techniques, they could all be used flexibly. Although the increase in strength of the cultivation technique was not as high as a single sword or saber cultivator, it was more flexible, so it was very hard to deal with. When Dongfang Haoren was facing Nangongyun's wild attack, he had immediately turned into a defensive state. Adding in the high-level shield skill he had cultivated, he could create a layer of radiation while defending, forcefully reflecting the attack back to the opponent. This kind of defensive cultivation technique with a reflection effect was a high-level cultivation technique. When a soldier's defense was at its weakest, it was when they were attacking with all their strength. If they could block the attack and reflect a portion of the attack back, they could obtain an unexpected result. The Starlight Immortal Body was this kind of cultivation technique. However, the Starlight Immortal Body's reflection power was limited. It would increase as the cultivation technique increased. At the current stage, unless it was Meng Yingying's mirror source spirit amplification or special equipment amplification, the reflection power could not compare to Dongfang Haoren's move. Nangongyun's hammer slammed down, it was equivalent to slamming into her own body. This kind of reflection power was over 80%, it was a very, very terrifying defensive technique. Dongfang Haoren calmly countered with a counterattack, heavily injuring Nangongyun in one fell swoop. But Dongfang Haoren was not feeling good either. Nangongyun's strength was too strong, it had actually shattered the armament source spirit's shield. A portion of the power fell onto his body, which was enough to injure him. This woman was very strong. She could even fight against Chu Xinghe. If she was trained and given enough attention, she might become a great opponent for Dongfang Haoren. Dongfang Haoren was filled with excitement. His heart was filled with excitement. Meeting an opponent, he would have to compete with her. Nangongyun was an opponent worth looking forward to. He hoped that she would become stronger. With a peng sound, that white-clothed youth with a high status took out an ice crystal-like treasure sword from his back. He walked out from behind the girls and stood in front of Dongfang Haoren like a javelin. "Do you want to rest a bit before fighting?" Dongfang Haoren disdainfully said, "This kind of battle isn't anything to me, so why waste time?" Meng Qingwu quickly stopped Nangongyun, who was about to explode. Although Dongfang Haoren's character was a bit annoying, he was still quite honest. Just the few moves that Nangongyun had just exchanged could not affect Dongfang Haoren at all. Dongfang Haoren's true cultivation was in the 9th awakened soul layer. If he used his full strength, whether it was Nangongyun or Chu Tian, they wouldn't even be able to block one or two moves. Even if Dongfang Haoren suppressed his cultivation, his foundation was still there. His incomparably large amount of spirit energy was something that Chu Tian and Nangongyun could not compare to. "Then I'll play with you, Your Highness." Chu Tian stretched his neck and arms. I haven't fought anyone since I came to the capital. I've been holding back for half a month. It's time for me to enjoy myself. I'm afraid that I won't be able to enjoy myself if I end the battle in 2 or 3 moves. Perhaps. Chu Tian was too lazy to say anything else. He instantly activated his sword art and disappeared from the spot. Several sword glows flew out at an unbelievable speed, attacking at almost the same speed. Good sword art. Dongfang Haoren had a kind of breathtaking feeling. Not only was this sword art filled with explosive power, it gave the opponent no time to prepare and instantly launched a powerful sneak attack. The most precious thing was that this sword art could not only create a strong burst of power, it also had a strong endurance. It was enough to create a wild storm of attacks and instantly destroy the opponent's defenses. Dongfang Haoren did not hesitate at all. Towards all kinds of battles, it was almost an instinct. Large amounts of source spirit came out and purple light covered Dongfang Haoren's body, instantly forming an incomparably strong armor. Dang! Dang! Chu Tian sent out 2 slashes, creating several shallow sword marks. It was impossible to break through this armor and it was impossible to break through Dongfang Haoren's defense to injure him. This fellow had a very arrogant personality, but he had the capital to be arrogant. Since Chu Tian came to this era, this was the strongest defense he had ever seen. It was not inferior to the diamond body immortal body at all. Even if Dongfang Haoren had a strong defense and was mediocre in other aspects, just this point alone was enough to make him invincible among experts of the same level. It's only this much. Dongfang Haoren's source spirit released another wave of energy. This energy condensed in his hands and finally turned into a beautiful wide blade. It was made of pure energy and the blade was as clear as amethyst, with flames constantly being released from the surface. The mind's eye swept out. Locking onto his position, the purple blade slashed out from bottom to top, creating a strong wind. The blade chi was like a tornado as it flew at Chu Tian. Because Chu Tian had been locked onto by Dongfang Haoren's divine sense, no matter how Chu Tian dodged, this attack would still hit him. The expressions of the Meng Qingwu sisters and Nangong Yun slightly changed. Dongfang Haoren had not used his full strength, but the strength of this casual slash was enough to display a strong attack. It was something that geniuses of the same level would find hard to block. When Chu Tian faced this strong attack, he did not panic at all. He did not dodge or defend as he released his sword source spirit. The netherworld sword in his hand was infused with the demon god's sword's power, increasing its might by 10 times. A fierce sword chi soared into the sky, gathering the surrounding netherworld flames and releasing a raging flame slash. A slash came out. The blade chi was completely shattered. The amethyst blade formed from his source spirit was also shattered. Dongfang Haoren was forced back several meters. Although there were large amounts of blade chi that fell onto Chu Tian, with Chu Tian's defense, this bit of damage was insignificant. Dongfang Haoren never thought that Chu Tian's sword art would be this sharp. It seemed like it was not a coincidence that this person could defeat Chu Xinghe. Actually, Dongfang Haoren had made a mistake. Chu Tian had indeed defeated Chu Xinghe, but there was a crucial piece of information that he did not know. That was, Chu Tian had not only defeated Chu Xinghe, he had also defeated him in a higher realm. This was not as simple as defeating him, this was a complete suppression. Thinking about it, even if their cultivations weren't the same, Chu Tian could still defeat Chu Xinghe. If their spirit energy was at the same level, would Chu Xinghe have the qualifications to fight against Chu Tian? Dongfang Haoren did not know this, so he issued this kind of challenge. He thought that defeating Chu Tian at the same level was equal to defeating Chu Xinghe. The prince can't block it this quickly. Chu Tian gave several loud laughs. I still have a stronger move that I haven't used yet. Dongfang Haoren saw that on the armor formed from his source spirit, there was an incomparably large sword mark that was burning with blue and white flames. Not only did the source spirit armor not automatically repair itself, the flames were slowly devouring more of it. The Dongfang family's weapon equipping source spirit had a special characteristic: the energy of the source spirit was constant. If it focused on defense, it would be weak in attack, and if it focused on offense, it would be weak in defense. Therefore, when Dongfang Haoren had just formed his source energy armor, his defense was comparable to the Starlight immortal body and even surpassed it. When Dongfang Haoren came into contact with the armor and condensed it into a long blade, his defense was weakened. This was a defensive and offensive state that could be switched between. This was the Dongfang family's strong point, but it was also their limitation. Dongfang Haoren was a bit surprised. The special characteristics of the Dongfang family's source spirit was not a secret. Dongfang Haoren understood his source spirit's characteristics better than anyone else. If Chu Tian could release an even stronger attack, as long as he had a chance, he would be able to shatter his defense in one fell swoop. If you have the skills, then show it. Dongfang Haoren cancelled his attack state and prepared to use the same trick, calmly stopping the attack. I want to see how you can break my defense. A sound. All right, I'll do as you wish. The Netherworld sword released a ghostly wail, just like the mournful cries of 10,000 ghosts. It covered the entirety of Miracle Commerce and made everyone feel uneasy. They even began to hallucinate in fear. This time he was going to use the Netherworld Sword ART's third move, Netherworld Ghost Slash. This move fully released the weapon spirit's power, using both energy and spirit to attack. It was the Netherworld Sword's strongest move. But there were two sides to everything. The weakness of this move was that once the Ghost Slash was used, it would release the Netherworld Sword's weapon spirit's power. So, when the power of this move ended, the Netherworld Sword would be weakened for a short period of time and its battle strength would be greatly affected. Either he didn't use it or he killed it. Meng Qingwu could see it and said in a serious voice, "They want to decide victory with a single move." Dongfang Haoren could feel the powerful strength released by Chu Tian, so he could deeply understand how terrifying this slash was. He immediately released his source spirit and condensed it into an incomparably large shield. It's this move again. Nan Gongyun had just suffered a loss, so how could she not recognize it? This is bad. The stronger boss attack is, the stronger the backlash will be. This fellow wants to use calmness to stop the attack, using boss attack to defeat boss. What kind of person was Chu Tian? With such an obvious intention, how could he not see it? Chu Tian was still releasing all his strength, not having any thoughts of stopping at all. What was he thinking? Dongfang Haoren was very curious, but he was filled with anticipation and excitement. Come, let me see your strongest move. As you wish. Chu Tian's body was covered in flames as he charged out like a meteor, Netherworld Ghost Slash. When the Netherworld sword slashed out, the air was distorted by the dense energy. A jet-black sword glow slammed into the shield. Hong. A strong energy was reflected from the shield, slamming into the other side's body. Finally, under the incomparably strong sword pressure, the shield slowly shattered. A terrifying energy passed through the shield and fell onto Dongfang Haoren's body. Dongfang Haoren spat out a mouthful of blood as he was sent flying, falling into the distance like a kite with its string cut. This Dongfang Haoren really was a blockhead. He didn't release his full strength at this time and allowed the sword chi to heavily injure him. However, most of the Netherworld Ghost Slash's power was reflected. When Chu Tian slashed the shield, it was instantly torn to pieces. Ah! The girls all cried out in shock. Dongfang Haoren wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth as he revealed a look of disbelief. Was Chu Tian a madman? He actually wanted to use this kind of suicidal method to defeat him? This was just a normal competition. Did he need to go all out like this? But the next scene shocked everyone once again. After Chu Tian was torn apart, there was no scene of flesh and blood splattering everywhere. Instead, he turned into a large pile of flames. When these flames condensed, they had already turned into a tall and fierce flame demon. It was the weapon spirit, Netherworld. While Chu Tian was cultivating the Netherworld flame sword, Chu Tian had constantly improved it, even being able to summon the weapon spirit. So when he used the Netherworld Ghost Slash, it was completely different from the original. In the original Netherworld flame sword, this slash used all of the Netherworld sword's power. Once it was used up, the Netherworld sword would fall into a weakened state. After Chu Tian modified it, he released the weapon spirit along with the power, letting the weapon spirit use the Netherworld sword to complete the terrifying Netherworld Ghost Slash. The weapon spirit could also recover most of the power and condense itself outside the sword. The rebound force shattered the demon Hades. This flame demon had an elemental body, so it wouldn't be affected by his own power. This rebound force was meaningless to Hades. Instead, it returned all the power it released to him. What cultivation technique is this? Dongfang Haoren was completely stunned. It's still too early to be shocked. Chu Tian formed a seal with his hands. Netherworld, use the flame demon transformation. Yes, master. Netherworld suddenly covered Chu Tian's body. After he and the weapon spirit became one, he turned into an incomparably tall demon. An evil and cold aura suddenly covered the entire Miracle Commerce headquarters. This power almost made Dongfang Haoren collapse. This already far surpassed the might of the illustrious Soul Realm. Prince, you're right. After Chu Tian turned into the incomparably tall flame demon, he looked down at Dongfang Haoren. A battle that can be finished in 2-3 moves, it really can't satisfy me. Chapter 299. When Dongfang Haoren and Chu Tian were fighting, the Southern Summer King was anxiously meeting with his ministers in the royal palace, discussing the issue of deploying troops to the border. He had absolute confidence in his son. Dongfang Haoren had a straightforward personality, reaching the 9th awakened soul layer at the age of 27. In all of southern Xia, only Wang Tianlong could compare to him. If he could use this chance to teach Chu Tian a lesson, that would be the best result. Who didn't know Dongfang Haoren's personality? The calm martial ruler and the great scholar had nothing to say. The calm martial ruler reported to the Southern Summer King, there have been some abnormalities in the Warhound's plains recently. This kind of news came every other day, so the Southern Summer King did not care about it. He was thinking about the matter with Chu Tian, so he casually asked, they've been fighting with each other these past few years, when have they ever been normal? The calm martial ruler replied, in the Warhound's plains, there is a Hellsong tribe. This tribe has a large influence in the Warhound's plains, so they have always been this ruler's focus. However, in the past few months, this ruler has lost contact with the nearby spies. Isn't this a bit strange? The refined ruler said with a bit of contempt, the Warhound's tribe's scouting abilities are very strong, so it isn't strange for a few spies to die. My people have been in contact with the Hellsong tribe's people, secretly bribing several middle-level members of the Hellsong tribe to do business with them. If there is any special situation, they will naturally bring the news back. The calm martial ruler is worrying too much. Although it isn't strange for a few spies to die, losing contact with them all at once is a bit strange. Your information is obtained through benefits, so it is hard to tell if it is real or fake. It might not be accurate, but it could be a fog that they are purposely throwing out. The calm martial ruler asked the Southern Summer King, this ruler is willing to personally lead a scouting team to the Warhound's plains to investigate. The Warhound's tribe has many internal conflicts. The calm martial ruler's prestige has shaken the Warhound's plains, so once you enter the Warhound's plains, it will cause these fellows to work together and cause southern Xia to fall into danger. So let them continue fighting each other. In southern Xia's frontline army, I can see that the battle dragon army isn't far, so let them go to investigate. There is no need for the calm martial ruler to personally make a move. This was also true. The calm martial ruler's identity was very sensitive and it could alert the Warhound's tribe. Before the others could express their opinions, a royal knight rushed forward. Your Majesty, it's not good. Something has happened at the Miracle Commerce headquarters. His Highness the eldest prince and Chu Tian are fighting. Oh, they're fighting? What's going on? The Southern Summer King revealed a look of ridicule, but he quickly hid it and pretended to be surprised as he said, why are the two of them fighting? How are your injuries? The paladin said with a strange expression, his injuries are not light. He won't be able to recover in a short period of time. I'm afraid. All right, it's fine as long as you're not dead. Nowadays, young and hot-blooded juniors like to spar with each other because they're not convinced of each other's superiority. Isn't that normal? Southern Xia has always been a martial country, otherwise how could they have fought against the Warhounds for so many years? The Southern Summer King did not care at all and was secretly laughing in his heart. You can leave. This king will naturally deal with this matter later. This was the consequence of being too flamboyant. He was borrowing Howren's hand this time to give him a small warning. If he didn't learn to be smart in the future, it would not be as simple as a small warning. The royal knight had a face of shock, Your Majesty, but… enough. Could it be that this king wants to personally mediate a fight between young people? The Southern Summer King gave a cold snort. What a joke. Everyone understands Howren's personality. Although he is addicted to martial arts, he will not force others to compete with him. Since it is a fair duel between both sides, he should be prepared to be injured if he loses. Everyone looked at each other in blank dismay. Dongfang Howren's personality was very famous in Imperial City. This fellow was addicted to martial arts, finding people to fight all day long. Although it was like this, his martial arts was not bad and he would not force others to fight with him. Since Dongfang Howren was fighting with Chu Tian would definitely agree to the challenge. According to the customs of Southern Xia, in a duel, one's death was up to the heavens and others were not allowed to interfere. The royal knight's expression became more and more strange. Although it's like this, I ask Your Majesty to quickly arrange a healer, otherwise. The Southern Summer King impatiently waved his hand. Miracle commerce is this rich, there is no need for this king to arrange it. Let them handle it themselves. The royal knight's eyes opened wide and he finally couldn't help it. Your Majesty is wrong, the one heavily injured is the prince. Pa. The armrest of the Southern Summer King's throne was crushed like someone had slapped him in the face. His tiger eyes popped out and he loudly roared, What did you say? Howren is injured. How is this possible? The royal knight quickly kneeled down. The prince ran to Miracle Commerce's headquarters to challenge Chu Tian, but in the end he was beaten down by Chu Tian several times and was heavily injured. Now many people have seen this. If Your Majesty does not go, the prince will be in danger. Bastard. The Southern Summer King's hair almost stood up. How could this be? His most important son had actually been heavily injured by Chu Tian in front of countless people. Once this matter was spread through Imperial City, the royal family would lose all face. But, how did this happen? This was simply impossible. Damn. That bastard Chu Tian. My king, please calm your anger. Jiyu Qianqiu suppressed a smile as he stood up and said, My Southern Xia is a country of martial arts, leaving life and death to the heavens in a fair duel. We can't take our anger out on Chu Tian just because the prince was injured by Chu Tian. This is what my king has just said. Zhao Piyu said in a serious voice, This one agrees. As a king, we must uphold this principle. The Southern Summer King's face was filled with shame. It was hard to get off at this moment. These words had just been said by him, and if they were overturned, would he still have any face as a king? If this was spread to the ears of the citizens tomorrow, they would be dissatisfied with his actions. He could only bite the bullet now. Now that things had reached this point, there was no other way. If he did not punish Chu Tian, he would gain a good reputation. You two are worrying too much. Of course this king will not blame Chu Tian. Howren is used to being arrogant, so being taught a lesson this time is a good thing for him. Not only will I not punish him, I will also properly thank Chu Tian. Let's stop discussing today's matters here. The Southern Summer King waved his hand to his left and right. Prepare the carriage, I want to go to Miracle Commerce. The Southern Summer King quickly rode the beast carriage to the Miracle Commerce headquarters. Dongfang Howren's injuries were not serious, but when he saw Chu Tian use the flame demon transformation, Dongfang Howren was not willing to be defeated, so he raised his cultivation to the 7th awakened soul layer. He used his true soul realm strength to fight Chu Tian again. He did not believe it. Chu Tian could fight across realms. This was not just fighting across realms. From the 6th awakened soul layer to the 7th awakened soul layer, this was a large qualitative change. What made Dongfang Howren feel despair was that after using the flame demon transformation, Chu Tian's battle strength had reached the true soul realm. He could easily defeat Dongfang Howren once again. Dongfang Howren had been a genius since he was a child. He had always been the one to defeat people across realms. When had he ever been defeated by someone across realms? The person who defeated him was the Chu Tian he had scolded. Dongfang Howren did not believe it. Was Chu Tian really this strong? Dongfang Howren dragged his heavily injured body and fought with Chu Tian again. This time he released the strength of the 8th awakened soul layer and was finally able to fight evenly with Chu Tian. However, at this time, from a certain place in Miracle Commerce, a cold current was released and a black figure fell from the sky. This person was none other than Chu Tian's personal bodyguard, Chen Bingyu. Chen Bingyu had been in closed-door cultivation ever since she came to Imperial City. After suddenly coming out this time, her strength had made a breakthrough. From her aura, it could be seen that she was in the peak 9th awakened soul layer. Chen Bingyu's cultivation had actually reached the strength of the Southern Summer 8 Marquises. Dongfang Haoran almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Chen Bingyu was only around 30 years old. This girl that wasn't that much older than him, this girl that didn't have many resources to raise, had actually reached the peak 9th awakened soul layer. How could this not make Dongfang Haoran depressed? Who's causing trouble here? Aunt Chen, it's him. Chen Bingyu immediately sent out a snowflake dart that instantly pierced through Dongfang Haoran's armor and knocked him back to the ground. This time, Dongfang Haoran couldn't stand up. That arrogant and indifferent face was now filled with despair. This group of people were too abnormal. From Nangong Yun to Chu Tian, to Chen Bingyu, not a single one of them was easy to deal with. Chu Tian's strength was almost exhausted. He released the flame demon transformation and looked at Dongfang Haoran with a smile. How does the first prince feel? It's my loss. Dongfang Haoran stood up with difficulty, but, don't be too happy. I will definitely win it back. Chu Tian broke out in laughter. I'll wait for you to win against me. A voice came from outside at this time. The Southern Summer King has arrived. The Meng Qingwu sisters, Chen Bingyu, the Miracle Commerce people, and even the crowd watching all revealed shocked expressions. They all bowed down and loudly shouted, "Greetings to our king." A man wearing a king's robe passed through the crowd and entered Miracle Commerce with a calm expression. He first saw the heavily injured Dongfang Haoran and his face instantly sunk. I told you to do something, so what are you doing? Are you ignoring this king's words? Dongfang Haoran quickly lowered his head. Your son knows his mistake. But he then said, this battle was provoked by your son and I am convinced of my loss. I ask Royal Father to not blame Chu Tian for this. You're still not going back. The Southern Summer King gave a fierce look and had the injured Dongfang Haoran leave. Then he took a deep look at Chu Tian. Scholar Chu is truly strong. In all these years, this king has never seen a young man that could make Haoran suffer a loss. This was not a compliment. He really had a whole new level of respect for Chu Tian. Not only was this person talented, his battle talent was something normal people could not imagine. If this person grew up in the future, it would be hard to imagine. Chu Tian gave a laugh. The Southern Summer King overpraises me. It was the prince who let this little one win. Since you knew, why did you still heavily injure him? The prince's strength is deep and his temperament is as violent as fire, so this little one did not dare hold back. This accidental injury was purely an accident. Chu Tian helplessly shrugged. The Southern Summer King has graced us with his presence. Please come to my humble home. This one will serve wine as an apology. The Southern Summer King also knew this matter could not be used to deal with Chu Tian, and he had something he needed to cooperate with Chu Tian, so he could only swallow this anger. All right, then let this king have a taste of Miracle Commerce's wine. Chapter 300. The Southern Summer King had to admit that he had greatly underestimated Chu Tian. If this kind of person could be used by Southern Xia, then he would become a pillar of the country. On the contrary, if he could not be controlled, then he would become the center of chaos. He was now faced with two choices. The first choice was to suppress Chu Tian before he matured. The second choice was to give Chu Tian a helping hand before he matured. The Southern Summer King's personality clearly leaned towards the first choice. The Southern Summer King liked absolute control and did not want any uncontrollable factors to appear. He would rather tear down a large tree that could become a pillar to prevent this tree from growing too strong and breaking through the palace. The fact was that Chu Tian was not a single person. Miracle Commerce already had a large influence, and not only did it affect the lives of the citizens, there was also a peak 9th awakened soul layer expert like Chen Bingyu and a large gang like the Giant Shark Gang. In the center, there was the calm martial ruler and the great scholar. In the lower regions, There was Shen Fenghu and the Golden Arrow Marquis. There were too many supporters and a single move would affect the whole. The most important point was that Southern Xia needed Chu Tian's talent. The secret source energy weapon was something that the Southern Summer King was clear on. Once this weapon was used in the army, Southern Xia's counterattack against the War Hounds would be imminent. The Southern Summer King would fulfill the dreams of the previous kings and become the eternal great person of the Dongfang family. There were many other reasons. Chu Tian could not be touched. At least he could not be touched now, and he could only think of a way to keep him in check. The Southern Summer King was not an outstanding king, but to be able to sit on the throne for several decades, he was not a normal person. He knew how to control his emotions and knew how important it was to adjust his disgust. He had to look at the big picture first. Chu Tian pretended to drink wine as an apology. Why would this king care about you youngsters competing in martial arts? The Southern Summer King did not seem to care about what had just happened. As long as no lives are lost, competition is the greatest force for progress. This king will not reject it and will instead support it. Scholar Chu is a pillar of the country. Although your personality is a bit more straightforward, your character and habits are trustworthy. This prince will have to rely on you in the future. Do not hold a grudge because of these small matters. Meng Qingwu and her sister heaved a sigh of relief when they heard this. Whether it was sincere or perfunctory, since these words were said, the Southern Summer King would not make it difficult for Chu Tian. Good wine, good wine. The Southern Summer King tasted the honey wine and praised, Scholar Chu is not only a genius, I never thought you would be so good at brewing wine. This prince is a good-for-nothing prince. If I had half of your ability, the Dongfang family would have a successor. Chu Tian chuckled and said, the first prince is exceptionally talented, why would my king say such a thing? Oh, is that so? The Southern Summer King put down his wine cup and looked at Chu Tian with a deep and serious gaze. This king wants to hear, what do you think of Howren? This was a question that required a lot of knowledge. But Chu Tian did not think too much about it and honestly replied, the first prince is worthy of being the pillar of the country. The Southern Summer King said in a thought-provoking voice, your meaning is that Howren is suitable to be the second calm martial ruler and is not suitable to be the Southern Summer King? This was the truth. Dongfang Howren's personality was closer to the calm martial rulers. Forget it, there's no need to mention this matter. The others could not guess what the Southern Summer King was thinking. He did not seem to care about Chu Tian's evaluation and changed the topic. Miracle Commerce's movie is not bad and this king likes it very much, so I want to cooperate with Miracle Commerce to create another movie. The cost of the materials will be paid by the National Treasury and a satisfactory production fee will be paid to you. The broadcast income will be split equally by Miracle Commerce and the Dongfang family. I wonder, do you have any interest? There was this kind of good thing. These people found it hard to understand. The Southern Summer King was not only providing the materials, he was also paying for the production fee. He only wanted half of the broadcast income, giving all the benefits to Miracle Commerce. What did he mean by this? Chu Tian calmly asked, what is the Southern Summer King's request? One request. The movie's characters and story outline will all be provided by us. Miracle Commerce will only be responsible for the production and distribution. Understood. When he saw the Miracle Commerce movie, he understood the influence it would bring. So, he wanted to use this chance to make a promotional film for the royal family, consolidating his family and his own position. The appearance of this custom-made movie was already expected. But he never thought that the first person to ask for cooperation would be the Southern Summer King himself. Of course, this also showed that the Southern Summer King had extraordinary eyes. He knew the value of the movie, so he wanted to be the first to dig it. Because the industry has just started, naturally we will focus on the high-quality route. What is there to worry about? What Miracle Commerce can do, this king can also do. Even during the production process, this king will allow Miracle Commerce's people to join in. What kind of movie does my king want to make? Of course it will be the rise of the kingdom, as well as the heroic Dongfang family fighting against the war hounds. From the founding of the kingdom to today, it will all be adapted into a series of movies. I suggest it be divided into 10 parts, allowing the glorious image of the Dongfang family to forever remain in people's hearts. Fuck. They actually wanted to make a series. This kind of large investment was just for publicity. The Dongfang family's ambitions were not small. Chu Tian looked at Meng Qingwu beside him with an inquiring gaze. This was because in terms of the company's management, Meng Qingwu had more foresight than Chu Tian. Whether this matter was accepted or not depended on Meng Qingwu's opinion. Meng Qingwu nodded to Chu Tian before saying to the Southern Summer King, "It is Miracle Commerce's honor that we can cooperate with the royal family to produce a movie." All right. The Southern Summer King was very straightforward. This movie will be called The Great Summer Beacon. This king wants to see a soul-stirring historical masterpiece that will be passed down for tens of thousands of years, allowing the Dongfang family's future generations to see the hard work of their ancestor. This cooperation was decided. This matter is decided like this. The Southern Summer King did not plan on staying any longer. This king should go see that useless prince. I'll say goodbye here. Sending off my king. Several people cupped their hands and sent off the Southern Summer King with their eyes. Meng Yingying, Nan Gongyun, and the others looked at each other in blank dismay. This was one of the two prides of Imperial City, Dongfang Haoran. This was the supreme Southern Summer King of Southern Xia. Meng Yingying felt this was very strange. Why is he completely different from the rumors? That prince looks like a piece of wood and the king is not as overbearing as the rumors say. Rather, he looks very approachable. Nan Gongyun also had a deep understanding of this. Meng Qingwu shook her head. Southern Xia is a small country, but to be able to become the king of this country, he must have something special about him. Even the three rulers are respectful to him, so the Southern Summer King is not as simple as you think. Perhaps. In the next 2 days, the 4 theaters were filled with people every day. Everyone was attracted by this complicated, moving, and exciting story, becoming the biggest topic of conversation. The popularity of the Miracle Commerce movie Scarlet Blood War continued to rise because the main character was Chu Tian. It created a storm of fans in Imperial City. Especially in the last few days, when Chu Tian defeated Dongfang Haoran of the two prides of Imperial City, it created an uproar. It made Chu Tian's fame in Imperial City rise once again. His past deeds in Central State were dug up, shocking the Imperial City citizens. Without a doubt, Chu Tian had become the most dazzling star in Imperial City. Countless people worshipped Chu Tian as their idol. Even Meng Yingying was now called the nation's princess by the Imperial City citizens. She was simply the incarnation of a princess, pure, kind, and youthful, causing countless people to crazily chase after her. This was not the only effect brought by the theaters. When the Scarlet Blood War was shown, a series of interesting phenomena occurred in Imperial City. The Nangong family's once majestic ministers Wei Yang could not bear the public's attention, so he left Imperial City on his own accord and went to another place to hide. The Wang family was not this lucky. The Wang family's manor was frequently thrown with dung and eggs. Now the Wang family descendants did not dare go out on the streets, afraid of being ambushed or even beaten up. In short, the Wang family with the history of the old royal family had deeply felt the hostility of the world in just a few short days. Even if they brought a group of bodyguards, it was useless. The disdainful gazes of the passers-by made them feel uneasy. They could not go on like this. I ask the king to uphold justice for my Wang family. Wang Tu knelt down to the Southern Summer King and spoke with a face filled with grief and indignation. Although this general is in the wrong, the Wang family is innocent. Our several hundred-year reputation has been destroyed by that brat Chu Tian's movie. My Wang family's battle dragon army has shed blood on the front lines with outstanding military merits, but we are being looked down upon and humiliated in our hometown. It truly chills the hearts of the soldiers. This general strongly requests that the Imperial City's theaters be closed and Miracle Commerce be held accountable. Perhaps Wang Tu did not know. The Southern Summer King was secretly working with Chu Tian to make a movie and was currently preparing to make a movie. So, it was impossible for Wang Tu to stop the movie. The movie's influence is indeed unexpected, but the theaters have already spread throughout the city. If it is closed for this reason, it will cause the citizens to be filled with resentment. At that time, not only will the Wang family not be able to clear their name, this king will also be cursed by tens of thousands of people. Wang too righteously said, the appearance of the movie will corrupt the country. Once the citizens become addicted to the story, they will neglect the Northern War and affect the Southern Summer country's martial spirit. How will we fight against the Warhounds tribe? Don't worry, General. Don't worry, General. The Southern Summer King seemed like he had already made preparations. This Chu Tian has been in the limelight recently, so this king feels like he should be suppressed a bit. Otherwise, he will get carried away. Wang too was filled with joy when he heard this. My king is wise. Wang too coming to the palace to complain was completely within the Southern Summer King's expectations. Actually, the night he left Miracle Commerce, the Southern Summer King had already thought of a countermeasure. It would not offend Chu Tian, but it would also dampen Chu Tian's spirit, making him feel restrained. The Southern Summer King finished writing the royal proclamation and stamped it with his royal seal. Then he took out a royal token. Take it. Wang too glanced at the contents of the royal proclamation and felt his blood rush to his head. He kneeled down and shouted with a face filled with excitement, Thank you, my king. Don't publicize this matter, quickly take care of it. Understood. Wang too was filled with joy as he left the royal palace. The Southern Summer King revealed a strange smile. After thinking for a few seconds, he immediately called over a servant, Send the order. This year's year is approaching and Southern Xia is becoming stronger. This king has decided to hold a grand royal banquet to celebrate. All the ministers and the leaders of the large families must attend, so there can be no delays. Quickly take care of it. The servants did not ask anything and immediately went to prepare. Chapter 301. With the movies appearing in the past few days, there was a large group of movie fans in Imperial City, making Miracle Commerce the hottest company in Imperial City. Not only did Miracle Commerce have a breakthrough in their business, their internal progress was also very fast. The most pleasant surprise was Chen Bingyu's breakthrough. Even Chu Tian never would have thought that Chen Bingyu would have a breakthrough this quickly. This meant that Chu Tian would have a bodyguard that was not inferior to the Southern Summer 8 marquises. Adding in the 18 divine blood yin corpses in his hands, the number of people that could move against Chu Tian could be counted on one hand. In order to celebrate this large matter, Chu Tian personally went to celebrate Chen Bingyu's success. Meng Qingwu was sitting in her office. The warm sunlight passed through the window and fell onto the white-clothed beauty. That neatly tied-up hair, that beautiful face without a single flaw, that elegant and noble temperament, even the harshest eyes could not find a single flaw on this woman. This was simply the incarnation of a perfect goddess. Meng Qingwu was the true manager of the company. She could not be as carefree as Chu Tian. She was currently reviewing the recent financial statements, calculating the latest growth data, and making plans for the next step. They had spent quite a bit of money recently. The theater system and various other investments had used at least 200-300 million. But Miracle Commerce's financial situation was still very relaxed. Whether it was talismans, pills, food, or supplies, they were all growing at a rapid pace. Even Miracle Broadcasting and Chilean Hall's income were increasing. Miracle Commerce's business, other than the theater's temporary loss, had maintained a shocking growth rate, surpassing their expectations every month. This was also the reason why Miracle Commerce could quickly rise. Meng Qingwu was a very cautious and meticulous woman. Although Miracle Commerce was very rich, Meng Qingwu was not satisfied with the current situation. The several hundred million in cash was her ammunition for expansion. How to carefully use them to earn more benefits was Meng Qingwu's responsibility and also a way to show her value. Chu Tian was this powerful. If she couldn't play her role, how could the vice-chairman feel at ease? Meng Qingwu had always been very grateful to Chu Tian. If it wasn't for Chu Tian, not to mention today's glory, it would have been a problem for her to continue standing in Tiannan City. Chu Tian had promoted them, so what else could Meng Qingwu do other than work hard to repay Chu Tian? Was she going to devote her life to him? Pooh, what are you thinking about? After Meng Qingwu considered it carefully, she suddenly drew a line with her pen. The reserve funds were divided into 3 parts and she wrote a plan. The first sum of money would be invested in the research institute to continue perfecting the technology of miracle commerce. The second sum of money was used to expand. In addition to increasing the investment in movies and dramas, a large number of people with special talents were recruited from the public. They began to establish the group's henchmen, the Chu men, to reserve more talents and more experts for miracle commerce. The third sum of money was used to invest in strength. Meng Qingwu started to use miracle commerce's channels to collect natural treasures and various cultivation materials from all over the country. Especially the materials that contained the power of the stars, they would support the starlight immortal body cultivation of the miracle commerce high-level members. Meng Qingwu carefully considered the details and immediately sent them out. Meng Qingwu continued to look through the other materials, which were the details of the various departments. Meng Qingwu personally managed miracle commerce's advertising revenue had doubled, and Meng Yingying was in charge of the food and beverage department. What surprised Meng Qingwu the most was that Nangong Yun was in charge of Qilin Hall, and there was a shocking matter that happened recently. The eldest prince had publicly joined Qilin Hall. This Dongfang Haoran was quite broad-minded. He had been heavily injured a few days ago, but not only did he not think about taking revenge, he actually joined the training hall to study. Among the younger generation of large families, there were very few people like Dongfang Haoran. This was a chance. Meng Qingwu decided to use this chance to hype things up. Dongfang Haoran's status was not low. If he joined Qilin Hall, it would be a good chance for miracle commerce to consolidate. They could even use Qilin Hall to directly absorb him into the company. As for whether Qilin Hall could keep Dongfang Haoran, there was no need to worry about this at all. Most of Qilin Hall's information was personally organized by Chu Tian. For a martial arts fanatic like Dongfang Haoran, as long as he went there once, it would be like he was addicted to hallucinogens. Wasn't Chen Bingyu like this in the past? Dongfang Haoran joining Qilin Hall was a warm-up, and he also announced the matter of cooperating with the royal family to produce a movie. At that time, the entire city would be discussing this, guessing the relationship between the royal family and miracle commerce. This was beneficial to miracle commerce. Speaking of the movie with the Southern Summer King, Meng Yingying had already brought people to prepare for the production. The materials used for the movie would be paid for by the National Treasury, so it was a business that would not lose anything. Meng Qingwu was not satisfied with this. At this time, a voice came from the door. Chairman Han of the Flame Rose Commerce requests an audience. She finally came. Meng Qingwu's lips curled into a smile. The Flame Rose Commerce was a first-rate company in Imperial City, mainly dealing in weapons and armor. Even the Storm Cavalry's equipment was specially made by them. They had several billion in sales each year and were a true large company. When Meng Qingwu arrived in the guest hall, she saw the Flame Rose Commerce's chairman. This was a 40-year-old woman with white skin and a full body, looking like a 16-year-old girl. Because her surname was Han, everyone called her Madam Han. Madam Han personally coming, this is truly a rare guess. Meng Qingwu personally poured a cup of elven green tea for Madam Han. Madam Han looked over Meng Qingwu and gave a heartfelt praise. Young Miss Meng is even more beautiful than I imagined, truly young and promising. You've only been in Imperial City for 2 months, but your performance is too shocking. What is Madam Han saying? The Flame Rose Commerce is a 50-year-old company. Miracle Commerce does not dare call itself big in front of you. Old and decaying, I can't compare to the rising stars. Meng Qingwu did not beat around the bush and took the initiative to ask, Madam Han is too modest, you're here for. I have a win-win plan, is little sister Qingwu interested? There's no harm in saying it. Today I'm going to personally watch the movie. The charm of this movie cannot be compared to any other form of entertainment. It will definitely become popular in Imperial City and Southern Xia. I think that since the movie is so popular, why don't we fully exploit its profit potential? I have an idea. In the next movie, most of the characters will be wearing the Flame Rose style equipment and will also have the logo of the company. Meng Qingwu deliberately frowned as if she was in a difficult position. Relax, we will not interfere with any of the productions. In any case, the story is about soldiers and soldiers. Soldiers need equipment, right? Madam Han increased her bargaining chip and said, As long as the Han family's weapons and equipment can be implanted, I am willing to sponsor this movie with 20 million. Meng Qingwu suddenly smiled. Madam Han, this matter is not difficult, but 20 million is a bit too little. 20 million was not enough. Madam Han glared at her. It's just adding a few logos and graphics on the armor and weapons. This is as easy as lifting a finger for you. Even if that's the case, it will have a great advertising effect on your company's products. What Madam Han can think of, other merchants will think of sooner or later. Do you think just 20 million is enough to compete? How much do you want? At least 100 million. Madam Han was shocked. She really dared to ask for such an exorbitant price. 20 million gold coins was a lot, but Meng Qingwu asked for 100 million. Just by adding a few logos, she could recoup more than half of the cost of making a movie. This was too good at making money. 100 million is too high. Madam Han had a bitter expression. This is a new thing, who doesn't know how effective it will be? With such a high price, if it doesn't achieve the desired effect, then we will really lose everything. At most 50 million, no more. Meng Qingwu calmly said with a smile, actually, I am preparing to hold an investment fair and look for business partners to cooperate with us. Miracle Commerce is planning to build theaters in other cities, so the power of this advertisement is very strong. I think many people will be interested in this, and if Madam Han thinks the price is too high, there will naturally be others who will bid for it. Madam Han wanted to cry, 80 million? This is already the limit. Meng Qingwu took a sip of tea and slowly said, I can reveal a secret piece of information in advance. Miracle Commerce will cooperate with the Southern Summer King to make a movie about the rise and fall of the kingdom. There will be scenes of tens of thousands of soldiers fighting and a powerful army. Moreover, this movie will be collected by the Southern Summer King and become a masterpiece of Southern Summer. Do you think a price of 100 million is too high? I might as well tell Madam Han that this is only the current price. With more theaters and more influence, this price will change. The younger generation will surpass the older. Madam Han finally gave up. 100 million is 100 million. You have to give us a chance to display our equipment. It's best if you can give us a simple introduction and praise. No problem. The two women reached an agreement and immediately signed the contract. Meng Qingwu revealed a satisfied smile. This great summer beacon had not even started production yet, and they had already received 100 million from the Flame Rose Commerce, as well as a production fee from the king. There would also be ticket sales and additional expenses. This money was truly too easy to earn. Not long after Madam Han left, the other merchants and nobles came one after another. Some wanted to cooperate and some wanted to appear on screen. From logos, to advertisements, to cosplay, and even story customization, there was nothing they couldn't do. Meng Qingwu was right. Miracle Commerce did not need to earn this much money through ticket sales. Looking at the current potential, the movie had not even started production and they had already received 200-300 million in sponsorship fees. Who dared to say that the theater was not making money? Not only could it make money, it was simply a monster that made money. Meng Qingwu was filled with longing for the future of the theater. This was because before long, all of the major cities of southern Xia would be covered in theaters. That was when Miracle Commerce's money would come rolling in. Meng Qingwu had an even crazier idea. She wanted to create a culture of movies that could be exported to the surrounding countries and other races. This would allow Miracle Commerce's influence to spread even further.